In between the rivers, under the shadow of the mountains, the lights of the valley flickered as creativity exploded. Chill TV. Your TV, your way.
Hi, my name is Darren Bosch and I am the president of the Chilliwack Chamber of Commerce. We are here today conducting an interview series with our mayoral candidates for the 2018 election. We will hear their views on issues affecting business in Chilliwack. We hope you enjoy it and are informed by this series presented to you by the Chilliwack Chamber of Commerce and Chill TV. Question 1. In a recent survey, 67% of respondents believe the quality of life in Chilliwack has worsened in the last 5 years, and 50% feel it may get worse from here. What is your response? And if elected, what will you do to turn this perception around?
Financial security, job satisfaction, family life, health and safety have all been affected. Though I believe things are worse as well, a lot of things come from a federal and provincial level. On a municipal level, I believe a lot of how we are feeling is coming from the crime and coming from actually viewing the homeless on the streets. I want people to feel safe in Chilliwack. I want people to be able to call it home. And all of my policies are aimed toward supporting those things.
Yeah, quality of life is a challenging topic. Obviously, it encompasses a whole variety of items, but I think that perception is fair. I think that we have dropped the ball on delivering services to our community, and we need to start with dealing with our major issues like homelessness and housing before we can start tackling things like parks and trails and transportation networks, and all of those things in my mind encompass quality of life. And so that would be my aim, is to take that comprehensive approach and deal with these things for our community, because if we're not a desirable place to live, then in today's economy, people will move elsewhere.
I think for most people in the city of Chilliwack, the quality of life is great. They're able to enjoy the first-class amenities that we have here in Chilliwack that are the envy of many municipalities. They take advantage of the trails and the recreational activities that we have, cultural activities. There are some who are not in that place right now. I know that housing prices have really been tough for people who want to own a home, and also people who want to rent are affected by the prices of homes. And then of course there's the homeless that are on the street, that are in our parks and on our sidewalks. And I need to tell you that I'm working really hard on that. Through my work with UBCM, the Union of BC Municipalities, I've been able to influence some of the direction that the provincial government is going, and I know that we've been able to secure lots of housing for people right now who are on the street, people right here in Chilliwack, and that is coming, 92 units.
Certainly that's a big number, and thanks for asking. It's been a real series of things that have happened. The migration of some homeless folks have come into our town and added to the perception. For sure, for downtown, I would like to get some beat cops 24/7 to have a real presence in our downtown to keep these folks moving. It's not illegal to be homeless. That's a perception that people think that they're not allowed to be there. It's not illegal, but it's something that I would certainly like to clean up and address.
Well, I do believe the people, it is getting worse. I've lived here all my life and it hasn't been getting better. To help them getting the place better, housing has to be done. We need housing. I've got friends that are living on the street, so we have to get stuff done for them. Rehab is a #1 thing that I need to do. We have to get rehab done. I can't see these people sitting around on our streets doing drugs openly, and the people of this town do not like it. They're afraid to walk into town, they're afraid to take their kids to school, and something has to be done now.
Question 2. As a candidate, what is your view on property taxes in Chilliwack? Do they need to increase, decrease, or stay the same, and why?
I would like to see them, I don't think they should be increased, definitely not increased. Being the same, I can handle that as a property owner, you know, it's not that outrageously priced. The people that are house owners and have a hard issue putting food on their plates, it would be nice to be able to help them out. I don't know how we could do that, but if there is a will, there is a way. I am here to help the people.
Yeah, this is the most challenging topic in local government. It's not a fun place to be, in my opinion. But I'll give you an example. I had a respondent today to a couple questions I put out on social media, asked me about what he should be doing. His business has been broken into 20 times in the last year. He's put in place bars and security cameras, and he has staff who don't feel comfortable working late hours and closing his store. That is the real cost of underservicing our community. And in my opinion, a respondent like that, if we show them a value proposition of not a massive increase in taxes, I would never advocate for that, but a measured approach to deal with our issues. It costs money to deal with issues. And so if we look at something like a $1 million increase in revenue for the city of Chilliwack, the average home taxes in Chilliwack will go up by $24 per year. And I believe that that is a very reasonable approach. And with that, we can hire 5 RCMP officers full-time, 6 RCMP officers full-time. And those are the kinds of things that we need to show the community when we start talking about value. So I do believe that we need to see a small increase in our taxes over time in a way that's absorbable, but nothing dramatic. There are economic impacts to raising taxes too much, too soon.
No one wants to raise the taxes, but we do need to be realistic. Our city is growing, and our homeless population has grown 203% from 2014 to 2017. That's more than the population growth coming into Chilliwack during that time. I don't want to raise the taxes, I don't, but that won't be my first option for sure. But certainly, I want to find how they've been spending some of the money, like our dike, the dike on Yonge Street. Now we have a lawsuit against the city. 10 to 15 people have put a lawsuit against the city of Chilliwack, and I believe that the dike isn't even finished. So that's a really important issue for me, and I know for the people on Yonge Street as well. I certainly will not be encouraging some metal flowers off of Yonge Street. You know, I don't want to misspend tax money, so I think you have to be careful there. But I think I appreciate the art that's there on Evans Road, but I would have preferred to see that we're an unceded land of the Stolo Nation. I would have preferred to see something there, a piece for the Indigenous people, for sure.
I would certainly like them to stay the same. I like our pay as we go. I think our amenities that we have had built and are building, like the curling rink, are going to be pieces of amenities that are going to be paid for. I think it is going to, the part about building the economy is on the business side, and that will increase our tax base. So no, I am a proponent of keeping our taxes low.
So I've been privileged to be in City Hall on the day when people have to pay their property taxes. And I can tell you, I have never heard anyone say that they want higher property taxes. As a matter of fact, businesses pay 2.2 what a regular homeowner pays. So for them, higher taxes can actually torpedo their business. So I'm very careful about this. I'm a very strong advocate at the table to keep our taxes low. We have the lowest taxes in the Lower Mainland. That's why business is coming to Chilliwack, like Molson's, Berry Hill Farms, other businesses as well. And we have no debt. We pay as you go and have a 10-year comprehensive municipal plan. That's what I want to see happen. I want to see us pay, and I want to see us pay as we go, and I want us to never incur debt.
Question 3. What do you believe are the top 3 investment priorities for our municipality?
Yeah, Chilliwack needs to invest in infrastructure in ways that we can. We have been doing that over the last 4 years, but our roadways are vastly under capacity. We're seeing that. We need to be investing in, I think, a bit of a different strategy as well to attract businesses. In having a conversation about this whole topic with a handful of business owners, I think the framework has shifted around what the infrastructure is that businesses require. Heavy industry requires in-ground services and land zoning. Small businesses need street festivals. They need beautiful streetscapes. They need a safe environment for pedestrians to walk to their businesses. I think those are places we need to invest, and we will get a return on investment in the business sector, certainly.
So the first priority has to be public safety and policing. You know, we've invested a lot in policing in the city of Chilliwack. We used to hire 2 police officers a year, but in the last 2 years, we've hired over 15. And I really have been a strong advocate for that around the council table. People have the right to feel safe in their own community. And so it's not a cheap endeavor. Every single RCMP member costs $168,000. So in fact, that is one of the main drivers in our budget, and we have to be careful. So we balance it off as well. We have bylaw that have been part of that, and they are now doing daily sweeps in the downtown area for sure, and trying to make sure that people feel safe in their home. So the second issue would be housing, for sure. For people who do not have housing right now, they do not belong in our parks, they don't belong on our sidewalks. We need to build housing, and I'm a fierce advocate for that at the provincial level. And the third one I would say would be infrastructure. You know, we have built bike paths and pedestrian walkways, but really cars right now, we have to be honest about this, are the main form of transportation. So there's some areas in Chilliwack that need additional TLC, and we need to get people moving from point A to point B, as well as the widening of Highway 1.
Economic development, job creation, business retention, including small business expansion and attraction to Chilliwack, and that includes the tourism and the gondola off of the Mount Sham. So that's the one. Number 2 is housing supply and development, affordable housing for seniors, low income, getting our homeless into a proper facility for sure, and biogas, turning manure into renewable energy.
Number 1 would be social housing. Of course, housing we need for everybody. Number 2, I hear a lot about hospitals. We need more places for us to go. We have these clinics that are open only a couple of hours out of the day. You go to the hospital, they're busy, you're waiting hours and hours and hours. And I would like to see a bigger hospital or more invested into our hospital to help the people. The other thing would be schooling. We need more schools. I see that we're going to build another one down in the south part of Webster Landing area, which would be a good investment. But with all the housing that is going on the eastern side of town, up and around the Annis Road area, I do believe, there's 200-300 houses scheduled for up there. We need some type of schooling in that area of town too. More fire departments would be nice. Another one would be awesome. Another ambulance facility would be awesome too. It's something that we need, and it would be something worthwhile investing in, because we're all going to use them.
Well, certainly we need to put more money into our road rehab, especially up in our rural areas. I would like to see an increase in our police force, especially in our downtown core, and continue attracting businesses such as Molson's to our area to attract more young families to come in and set up their homes here in Chilliwack.
Question 4. Based on a recent survey, the top 3 concerns for residents of Chilliwack are policing and public safety, social housing and poverty reduction, local road maintenance and traffic management. If elected, how would you address these top 3 issues?
Policing and public safety. Advocate on a provincial and federal level for tougher conditions upon release from prison. Support at a municipal level the RCMP funding specifically for staffing and improving RCMP response times. Social housing and poverty reduction, faster turnaround times, and issuing permits for developers, applications, and rezoning applications. Increased number of high-density buildings, such as micro-apartments, advocating for supportive housing to the provincial government, and BC Housing for low-income singles, couples, and families, as well as seniors and those with disabilities. homeowner incentives for legal suites, and a 24-hour drop-in center for, or a shelter for the homeless. Oh, and number 3, local road maintenance and traffic management. We are responsible for building and maintaining our roads, sidewalks, and public spaces, managing how city streets are used. We have to be a prepared city, not just for those that are able-bodied, but also for senior citizens and people with disabilities and our youth. That would have prevented Matthew Jarvis's death on the train tracks on Broadway Street.
Okay, yes, social housing, we need help with provincial and federal government. We need help with our community. Everybody needs to get involved to get these people into nice places and at reasonable. I don't think we need to build any more out. We're building too far out into the valleys and into our mountains. I would like to see our housing go up. Road maintenance has to be done all the time, not just during election time like now when all these roads are getting repaved. We need to do roads that need to be done, not just the ones that are getting done 4 times in 5 years. Main Street, big road, our main road hasn't been done in 20 years. Policing in this town, I don't think more police will be the correct answer. At big money that they get, you hire 10 of them, that's $1.3 million, where we could hire 32 professional security guards at $20 an hour and have these people do their job, walk the beat at night. That's the time that we need it at. Help control the theft and the people running around doing what they do.
Those are issues that are facing our city. Doing nothing isn't going to work. The work that I've done on the social side has been, I feel, a big, huge step in the right direction. Early 19, there's going to be some real substantial social housing builds here with the supports that are needed, which I'm sure are going to help what people are seeing downtown. Of course, the infrastructure side, we need to put more money into our road systems. There's no question. Especially in rural areas, it's a need, and I've been asked over and over again, and I would certainly like to put more money there. And of course, the police force. I think we talked about that already. An increase in the force is something that is needed. If you take Surrey as an example and compare it to Chilliwack per capita, our guys have more file counts than they do in Surrey. That's got to change.
Yeah, it's played into my hand nicely. My campaign strategy came out 3 months ago and was informed by my last 4 years on council. But those are my top 3 platform planks in my platform, and I think they're all really interconnected. People see the symptoms of our failure to deal with problems. So they see homelessness on the streets, they see themselves or friends and relatives unable to afford housing. We have to come up with a comprehensive housing strategy that is better than what we have. We have to deal with policing challenges in a very real way, which is service levels, or perhaps looking at a municipal police force. And we also need to dramatically increase the way in which we service our down and out populations in Chilliwack, because so long as we don't deal with a certain cohort of the population, they will continue to affect every life in Chilliwack. We're 100,000 people, and our street homeless population of a few hundred has a massive impact on the quality of life for citizens throughout our community, in every neighborhood.
So infrastructure. First of all, we are a car-based society. We have built bike lanes, we have built sidewalks, but we do need to increase this capacity of our roads. So we'll be widening our roads from Watson down to Keith Wilson, that stretch on Vetter, 4 lanes, and we're also widening the road on Promontory to 4 lanes as well, and fixing that intersection up. So that's one, but there are many more that we need to do. We have a 10-year plan, we're going to get it done. As far as social housing goes, it's really important that we keep advocating for social housing. Like, this is a provincial issue, but if we're not knocking on the doors of the ministers that will make a difference, and on BC Housing's door, we won't get any success, and we are seeing success. I've been able to successfully advocate, and we have 92 modular units coming for those who are homeless right now, homeless in the city of Chilliwack, Chilliwack residents. And policing, absolutely, we need to add more police. Boots on the ground is what people are asking for, and that's what we need. We hired 15 over the last 2 years, where before we'd only hired 2 a year, and they are doing remarkable jobs in their sweeps of downtown Chilliwack and in helping business owners and residents feel safe.
Question 5. In a recent survey, 73% believe our policing resources are inadequate. 56% support the establishment of a regional police force as opposed to the current RCMP. What is your response to this?
I feel that our police force is adequate with just a few add-on officers, especially in our downtown core and in our Sardis core. We did check into the cost of a city police force. The cost was through the roof. If we were to go that route, I would like to put that out to the community to say what they would like to do, because of course there would be a difference in our taxes. We would have to find the money someplace to pay for this force, but I feel we are trending in the right direction with the force that we have on hand right now.
Well, I think more studies have to be done. I know that Richmond City did a study of this, and they found that they could not afford to let go of the RCMP. It was extremely expensive in divestment of buildings and all of the kind of legal repercussions that happen when you try to have a new police force. I think there has to be a regional response and a regional determination as to how we go forward in public safety. The other thing that people may not know about municipal police force is that the municipality really doesn't have any say in a municipal police force. They're people who are appointed and to that board, and the municipality gets one vote on the board. So it may not be the panacea. We also talked about the cost of municipal policing versus RCMP, and at this point, with dollars and cents, the RCMP are winning.
If it is better for the community, I would support it. If it is cheaper and in the long run, and if they are actually going to come out and help when we call them, I would support that 100%. As it is now with the policing, they seem to be too busy for just the little guy. Too many B&Es, they don't want to come and help. We got the guy in the garage, he's here, come and help. No, sorry, we're too busy. So with community policing, that may be a way better way to go, depending on what it's going to cost us. Me, I'm a cheap guy. I like my money. You know, I like my money. I don't want to waste it. And being that I would be using your money, I don't want to waste it. So if it is a better way to go, awesome. If not, we'll keep going the way we are and bring in more security.
Municipal police only have jurisdiction in their own municipalities, and the RCMP are federal police, so they have jurisdiction anywhere in Canada and anywhere that they are sent to. I am for keeping the RCMP.
I think that our policing challenges in our community are very real, and a response to your survey like that indicates that it's being felt by citizens of Chilliwack. And so I want to move towards doing a comprehensive review of all of our policing. So whether that increases service levels for the RCMP or it's a move to a municipal police force, there's pros and cons to both, and obviously a move to a municipal police force would take place over time. It wouldn't happen next year, but I think unless we're willing to look at every option on the table, then we're not servicing our community properly. So we have to come up with a better strategy. Everyone in Chilliwack, I think, realizes that what we're doing is not working, and so we need to do better, and I think we can.
Question 6. Here's a comment from our recent survey. The planning of residential development seems to be focused on overbuilding, especially on the hills, without regard for necessary supports such as schools or arterial roads. How do you respond to this?
Well, I would say I think that's a little bit of a perception. When we did our official community plan, we planned for what was to happen in places like Promontory, and there's still about 700 homes that are left in the OCP to be built in that area. But the observation about the amenities keeping up, the schools, that's a great one. And it's one that is constrained by the Ministry of Education. They're the ones who have to approve schools in particular. So as you probably know, there is a new school that is being built with $48 million from the province that is brand new announced, and it couldn't come any sooner. I mean, we're so grateful for that. But yes, we have constant communication with the people like school district to make sure that we're building in the right areas and planning. The bad thing is we can't stop growth, so we have to plan ahead and make sure that we have responsible growth in our community.
I acknowledge and certainly sympathize with those living in the high residential areas of Garrison, Promontory, and Vetter. I believe that we should probably have a task force, get somebody together and figure out if we could do different ways of, different solutions of fixing that problem that's been happening up there for sure. I support and encourage school boards also to look at the distribution and the breakdown of students, and looking at maybe keeping children in their own catchment, and looking at the breakdown of what is elementary, middle school, senior school, and how we use those buildings and how we resource those to the best of our ability.
It comes down to Chilliwack's strategy around the way in which we fund infrastructure. We're one of the only communities, and we love to tote this as a strength, that has a no-debt, pay-as-you-go philosophy. Every other community doesn't do that for very good reasons, because we should be building infrastructure ahead of development. And then all new development in an area, for instance, Promontory is a really good example with only 2 access roads, then all of that new development funds back to the city and covers the costs of that upfront infrastructure. The cost to the taxpayers is the same, but the service delivery in the interim is way higher. And I think that we need to start looking at planning a city around rapid growth, because we're seeing it, and we're now seeing the challenges that come with building Vetter Road after we need it, of building infrastructure after we need it, of building our fire and police and all these other services afterwards. Most other municipalities borrow money on specific topics tied to specific files to deliver that service, and then the community as it grows pays back into those services. It's a much better service delivery model, and it's what most other communities do for very good reasons.
My response to that would be we need more schooling, more ambulance, more fire department, stuff like that for these areas. And if me personally, I would rather see stuff be built up, not out. And we can get more people living in a denser area and have more people coming to our town and actually living properly, I would hope. And with more schooling, we can do that. With extra fire departments, we can do that. With more hospitals or a bigger hospital, it would help 300%. And if there's anything that I can do to help the people accomplish this, I'm going to try and do that. Because like I say, it's all about the people. It's not about me, it's about you and everybody else out there.
Well, certainly there is an issue in our schools. We have currently 93 portables in our community, which I think is inadequate use of school space. I think what we need to do is have more collaboration with our school board folks and work alongside them. As we grow, they need to grow, and it's all about collaboration to push our higher levels of government to help us out. Chilliwack is growing, and growing at a fast pace. I believe it's like a school a year that we're growing. As far as the infrastructure, again, I've stated that before, I would like to put more money into it. A plan that I would like to do is to fast track the widening of Press Road to have it a safer road up and down out of that Promontory area, which is our fastest growing area of Chilliwack.
Question 7. Does your vision for the future for Chilliwack include any specific adjustments to the official community plan or changes to the agricultural land reserve? If so, how would you accomplish this?
I think the OCP is a pretty solid document. It is a moving, flexible document, but not taking land out of the ALR. We need to protect our lands. That's where a lot of our food base comes out of. That's why you see the building up in the eastern hillsides so concentrated, because Chilliwack is a farming community, and I do want to protect that.
Taking land out of the ALR is not preferable for sure. It's an important part of Chilliwack's landscape, economy, and our tourism. They put a lot of work into that plan, and the best and brightest people and the best and brightest minds have put that together. Ultimately, I'd be sticking to the plan. My interpretation might deviate a little bit from the current council, but I think in the end we are all headed towards the same goal.
It does, absolutely. The OCP obviously is our guiding document for the community, and I don't think that our OCP is forward-thinking enough. I don't think that it is comprehensive enough. We're doing a regional growth strategy review at the regional district right now, And we are realizing in that process that Chilliwack's OCP is not going to be adequate. But on farmland, I do not support the removal of any further farmland. But what we know is that along our urban-rural divide, there's a huge amount of speculation. So people are anticipating that we're going to adjust our OCP. And they're holding land for that purpose, which drives up the cost of foodstuffs. It makes farming unaffordable. It has a lot of downstream challenges. So we need to draw a firm line on the ALR, design our community around that, and then urbanize as though the farmland does not exist as an option for further development. And in that, we will protect agriculture and the huge agricultural sector, which drives our economy. But we're also going to build a denser, more livable community in our urban cores, which is easier for service provision of RCMP, fire staffing. We can provide better transit services, proximity, walkability in our community. All these lifestyle pieces are also then bolstered, because the more extensive your road network is and the more sprawled your community is, the harder it is to provide services as a municipality.
I'm really proud of the official community plan, and I think it's serving us well. It is a living, breathing document, so as issues come up, we can be nimble enough to be able to change it. The issue I hear a lot, particularly from the business community, is that we're running out of industrial land. In 1972, the Agricultural Land Commission started to draw lines around our community, and some of the land that they drew lines around is not arable land. It's not suitable for farming. So we are having those kind of discussions with the Agricultural Land Commission, trying to see if some of that land that cannot grow anything could be released for industrial land. Why is that important? People need jobs. They need to have a quality of life in our city, and we need to be working consistently and daily to make sure that their views are heard as well.
Well, the plan of the city, I'm not too sure with. I'm a business owner. I'm not into politics. I don't know much about what's going on. If I do get in, I'm sure I'm going to learn about it real quick. And whatever I can do to help the community, that's what I'm here for. ALR, no way, leave it alone. That is our food. If we keep taking away from our food, what do we got? Absolutely nothing. So let's keep it the way it is. And obviously I will look more into the community planning. And I only see the city getting bigger, and hopefully it's brighter.
Hello, Chilliwack. Good evening and welcome. It's so great to be here, and it's so great to see such a large turnout. Thank you for coming out. I also want to especially welcome our online audience. This event is being streamed live on chillTV.ca. So if you have any friends or family members who are not able to make it tonight, send out a message. Tell them they can also watch online at chillTV, that's CHILL, TV.ca. So first of all, I want to thank all the sponsors for making this event possible. And first of all, I want to thank the Chilliwack Chamber of Commerce for hosting this event. I want to thank the Chilliwack Downtown Business Improvement Association and also chillTV. Let's give them a round of applause for putting this together. I'm William Clausen, and I'm honored to be here tonight, excited to be here tonight, and also honored to serve Chilliwack as a director on the Chilliwack Chamber of Commerce. This is a big election, and it's not only a big election because we're living in uncertain times, financial uncertainty, there's social uncertainty, there's economic uncertainty. There's also a lot of issues that are really affecting Chilliwack right now, and issues that many of these candidates have strong views and strong suggestions on how to solve those problems. So I want to thank you for coming out. And one other thing that makes it a very important election is that we have 14 candidates looking for 6 positions on council. And with 3 incumbents vying for a seat, regardless of the outcome of the election, our new council will have at a minimum 50% new faces, new people to lead Chilliwack into the future. So thanks for making this important. Thanks for coming out to be informed and making Chilliwack a strong place to do business. And that's the role of the Chamber of Commerce. So that's why we're one of the main sponsors here, is to make sure that Chilliwack continues to be a strong place to do business. So what I want to do for the next couple minutes is just kind of outline the format for the night. I'm not here to do all the speaking. I'm going to go sit on a chair and let them do that all in a minute. But the format of the evening, what we've tried to do is with 14 people, give them the stage space and the floor space to help you and be informed, to get those those questions answered and all that stuff. What we've done is we're giving them all a chance to answer at least 4 questions. And with an introduction and a conclusion, we're going to have every candidate speaking for a minimum of 6 times throughout the evening. And we're going to use a random name generator or a random slot generator to make sure that everybody gets a fair chance to speak their questions. So how do we do that? First of all, every candidate is going to get 1 minute. So this is your briefing as well. You're going to get 1 minute to give us an opening and introduction pitch. And the 1 minute will be timed, and we have a little bell here that will ring at 50 seconds. So you got 10 seconds to close out your pitch. I know, 1 minute's not very long when you're a politician. So you get 1 minute to do that. After that, we're going to go into round 1. And the way we're going to do this is we have a host of questions already, and I'm going to get into that in a sec of how we generate questions. Each candidate is going to get put into this random generator, and we're going to get 3 candidates to answer the first question. And they get 1.5 minutes to answer the question. Then we're going to randomly generate another set of 3 names, or possibly 2, because we got 14, so that doesn't divide into 3. So there'll be sometimes only 2 people answer a question. Then we go into that, 3 more candidates will answer another question. 3 more candidates will answer another question. Once all the candidates have answered a question, we now have answered 5 questions, and all the candidates have had a chance to speak. At that time, we go to round 2. We do the same thing. And then we go to round 3, and we do the same thing again. After round 3, we've heard all candidates answer at a minimum 3 questions, and you've heard their viewpoints on 15 questions. For round 4, and listen here, candidates, this is important for you, is you need to keep track of which question you would like to answer that you have not yet had a chance to answer. And we've told you about Slido. I'm going to tell everyone else about Slido in a minute. The questions are all going to be there. But make note of a question that may speak to you, or however you want to choose that, a question that you want to speak to, and then you get 1.5 minutes to answer that question. And we'll also be choosing your name randomly for that. And at that point, we will have them all conclude for a 1-minute closing remarks again. So how are we going to do that? I want to briefly talk a little bit about the technology. Because we're getting all geeked out up here, and we have laptops and iPads and you name it. So we're going to go quite technologically advanced. So we hope, bear with our glitches if there are any, we hope that it works out well. For the first thing, we're using an app called Team Generator. That's going to generate our random names. And for the questions, we're using an app called Slido.com. So all of you here and also online, anybody can participate. Go to Slido.com, and that's the code for the event that we're at. And what's going to happen is there are already, I think, 20 questions that are in the queue, if not more, that people have asked, and you can do one of two things. Look for the question that speaks to what you want to ask, and give it a thumbs up. Give it a like, and it'll move up in the queue, because we're going to be picking questions that are important, and we know they're important because you're voting on them. And if your question is not in the queue, you get a chance at the very top of the screen to type in your question, hit send. It goes backstage to a moderator who's looking for three things: the appropriateness of the question. We are the Chamber of Commerce, the Downtown Business Improvement Association. We're looking for business-related questions and questions that are appropriate usernames, and to make sure the question hasn't already been asked. If it meets all that criteria, it goes on into the queue and everyone can vote on it. If you do not have technology with you, I don't see them right now. Oh, there we go. We have two people that are going to be doing, 3, 4? We got 4 iPads? Okay. So I was expecting 2. So we have Laura. Are you doing it? We have Laura. We have Nicole Enns, Nicole Prosser, and Taylor. Yeah, sorry. I skipped somebody there. We have Taylor, and they are going to be in the crowd, and you can wave them down. They got an iPad with them, and they can look to see if your question is already in the queue. If not, they'll add it for you. So that's the way it works. You go into Slido.com. So before we get started, we're going to do something else. We're going to ask you for a poll. So can all of you who have your technology devices with you, please go to Slido.com and online as well. And we're going to do a live poll. At the top of the screen, go to Slido.com, enter the event code of Chilliwack, the number 4, Council, the number 4, CHWK, join the event, and at the top of your screen, you're going to see a poll. And I'm going to make that poll live for a minute. I'm going to ask you all to give us whether you have chosen the candidates for 1 to 2 seats, 3 to 4 seats, or 5 to 6 seats. So just let me pull that live for a sec. So go into Slido.com. At the top, it says polls, and we have an active poll, and you can see the results coming in as you're answering that question. And I'm going to give you about a minute to do that. So coming into tonight's meeting, how many of the 6 council positions are you already decided on? So I'm going to give you about a minute to 50 seconds, or a minute and a half to answer that. We currently have 120, 132, 137 people that are coming in and answering that poll. And this is going to give us a bit of an indication of the effectiveness of the evening, and also the future hopefuls candidates can get a bit of an indication how much work they have cut out for them yet. So coming into tonight's meeting, how many of the 6 council positions are you currently decided at? We're at about nearly 200 people have participated in the poll, and that's the results right there. So I'll just give you another 20 or 30 seconds for anybody. And what we're going to do, and don't worry, all your results are anonymous. We do not know who you are. And what we're going to do is, at the end of the evening, we're going to put this poll out again. So once I close the poll here in a couple seconds, that's kind of, it's staying pretty close. About 47% of you are saying that you have chosen 3 to 4 of your candidates' positions already. You know and are pretty strongly committed to voting for people in 3 to 4 positions already. 43% of you are saying that you have only chosen 1 to 2 candidates, and 10% 5 to 6. You definitely have your work cut out for you. So it's great. We're very honored to have this event, and hopefully this can help you inform the rest of your decision and become an informed voter to make the leadership at Chilliwack, continue a strong leadership in Chilliwack. So what I'm going to do is we already have the random names generated, and but for the introduction section, we're going to start alphabetical. They are seated alphabetical by last name, and we're going to start with incumbent Councillor Sue Etrill and start from there, and she has 1 minute to give her introduction spiel, and then we go on to the next. Yes, and just a quick reminder, the bell will hit at 50 seconds, meaning you have 10 seconds to close out and kind of...
All righty.
Okay, thank you.
All right, behave. Thank you very much. And it's so great to see this many people here. I hope all of you are planning to turn up to vote because, we've had a pretty bad percentage of voters in Chilliwack, so it thrills me to see this many people in the room. I am Susan Attrell, and I have 10 years experience working for the taxpayers of Chilliwack. I have greatly enjoyed my work as a city councillor over the years. But before that, I worked for 25 years for the telephone company where I was the senior manager. I was the CEO of the Chilliwack Chamber of Commerce and past president of the Rotary Club. Currently, I'm the executive director for the Chilliwack Hospice Society, and once again, I have to say that I love my job as a city councillor. I have always focused on the overall quality of life for the citizens of Chilliwack, and to me, that's a beautiful, safe, prosperous community. I have shown integrity in my actions and decisions, and I am really good at seeing the big picture. I listen a lot more than I talk. I have to say that. I listen to, the community.
Sorry, you didn't hear the first one, but...
Was that, okay. All right, thanks.
Thank you. Terry Cross.
Good evening, everyone. It's a delight to see you here. I'm Terry Cross, and I have lived in Chilliwack for over 45 years. I have 2 incredible children and 3 wonderful granddaughters. I dragon boat, I curl, and I'm an avid oil painter. And I'm an absolute nut fan about our national champion Chilliwack Chiefs, and they will have a good team this year. I also chair the trades program for apprenticeships at UV, University of Fraser Valley. I'm passionate about trades. They build our businesses, they grow our community, and they're extremely important to us. I'm a tradesperson myself, and we're very fortunate to have such a wonderful facility in Chilliwack, and it needs to be utilized more for our community. I'm a Chilliwack person, I live here, I will retire here, and I'm privileged to be here and honored to have an opportunity to be on council. Thank you.
Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Louis DeJager, and my background for the last 35 years has been in hospitality. I owned and operated Bravo Restaurant and Lounge in downtown Chilliwack from 2004 to 2016, winning 6 International Wine List Awards and several Chamber of Commerce Restaurant of the Year Awards. In 2012, we won Outstanding Achievement for Business in BC and the Chamber of Commerce first Aboriginal Business of the Year in 2015. I have been a board member of the Downtown Business Improvement Association, a member of the Chilliwack Chamber of Commerce, Mount Shem Rotary, and am currently a board member of the Stalo Community Futures. In 2017, I was named Business Volunteer of the Year for British Columbia by BC's network of Community Futures. In 2015, I also became involved with the Chilliwack Healthier Community, a network of local partners focused on affordable, accessible housing, mental health, addictions, poverty reduction. Leaders, da-da-da-da. There you go. I knew. I tried, you guys. I tried.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Cameron Hull. The only people that change the world are the ones that show up. People are feeling that Chilliwack is getting worse. The majority of people. With half of those people feeling it's not going to get any better anytime soon. Chilliwack needs innovative ideas and those with the ability to collaborate to bring Chilliwack the results that you all deserve. I fell in love with Chilliwack 14 years ago when I first set eyes on this city, and I said to my wife, we need to move here. And she said yes, thankfully. We've raised our children here, we've put down roots here, and I may have been born somewhere else, but this is home. I've had the opportunity to have a business downtown for 4.5 years that I absolutely loved. I've had the opportunity to serve Chilliwack, and I look forward to serving Chilliwack in the years to come. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you, everyone, for being here this evening. I'm Chris Clute, and I'm running for my second term as City Councillor. I believe there's still work for me to do. I'm really excited about the future of Chilliwack. Yes, there has been and there remains challenges. You and I share those same frustrations. However, I am proud of what is to come. We've worked hard to make sure that we have substantial investment in our police, that they have the tools to be effective. Advocacy for supportive and affordable housing within our community, many that are currently under construction. We've worked hard at protecting our agricultural land, balancing residential, commercial, and industrial growth within our community. I ask that you consider me for solid, responsible, committed, experienced leadership at City Hall. I'm born and raised here. I've raising my family here, and I ask for you to consider me, Chris Clute, for re-election on October 20th. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Jason Lum. I'm a two-term city councillor here in the city of Chilliwack. I'm also the chair of the Fraser Valley Regional District. It means I was chosen by my colleagues in the region to lead a 23-member board of elected officials here in the region. In my 7 years on council, I've served on almost every single committee of the city, either chairing or as a vice chair or participant. I've also served on a number of different provincial boards representing the Lower Mainland Local Government Association and Union of BC Municipalities. I have a long history of volunteerism here in the city and served on a number of different boards, including as president of this organization, the Chamber of Commerce. I don't know how old Bosch is, but I was the youngest at one point. I don't know, he might be younger than me. I think one of the most important skills that a politician can have is the ability to listen, to seek out diverse opinions, and to work to find common ground. I'm asking for your vote on October 20th. Jason Lum. Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Patty Makahonic. My grandma used to say that any job worth doing is worth doing well. I believe that my strong track record of getting things done in our community, working well with others, combined with my education and experience, will serve me well in serving you on City Council. While I was with the Chamber, I was able to spearhead policy that helped small business. With Ann Davis Society, I know you hear about the house that we've done and all of those things, but what you don't hear is it actually created 20 positions, full-time jobs with living wages and benefits, so that's something that I bring. We were the Community Safety and Crime Prevention Recipients Award with Ann Davis for the work we've been doing in prevention on violence in our community. And recently, I was humbled and honored to be a part of a group that was awarded the National Recreational Fisheries Award for the work I've done with First Nations on the sports fishery. If you vote for me, Patty Makahonic, on October 20th, you'll be voting for someone who listens, has proven experience, and gets the job done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sandy Matthews. I'm a local business owner that started a business over 32 years ago in Chilliwack, and it grew from a single garden center to 7. I also ran the Canada Nursery wholesale operation in Chilliwack for 15 years. I've been a large part of this community and enjoying all the benefits of Chilliwack has, and I'd like to keep it getting better instead of deteriorating. I have a lot of experiences on boards and with financial review. I've sat on the BC Ag Council, I've been on the president of the BC LNA, and I've sat on the Innovation Council. I think I have a lot of experience and I bring a lot of problem solving to the table for working out the problems in Chilliwack. And hopefully I have your vote. My name is Sandy Matthews. Please vote for me.
Good evening. My name is Bud Mercer. My family and I have lived in Chilliwack since 1992, except for a few years of penance in Ottawa. I served in the RCMP for 35 years all across Canada. I was stationed in Chilliwack in 1992 and rose to the rank of the detachment commander for both Chilliwack and the Fraser Valley in 2002. In 2007, I was appointed the Assistant Commissioner responsible for all aspects of security for the Vancouver 2010 Olympics. I had a staff of about 16,000 and a budget of $550 million. Whether here in Chilliwack or in my more senior years responsible for organized crime investigations and traveling around the world, my focus has always been making our communities safe. I don't give up, I don't quit, and no one hates or has been tougher on crime. In 2010, I retired from the RCMP and was hired as the CEO of a Canadian company in Ottawa with a net worth of $2.5 billion. I stayed with that company for 5 years as I committed. If elected to council...
Your time's up, bud.
Time's up?
Time's up.
Thank you.
Friends, thank you so much for coming here today. I'm Lisa Maury, and I work in an academic library, and I'm an officer in my union. I'm a former single parent and community volunteer. I have volunteered at various times for organizations such as the Chilliwack Academy of Music, the Chilliwack School of Performing Arts, the Fraser Valley Philharmonic Society, the Terracin Festival of the Arts, the Chilliwack Center for Excellence Paddling Club, and more, schools, youth organizations, etc. I'm mainly concerned about housing, transportation, and hungry kids, and these items in all of their facets. We have huge problems here in Chilliwack. We have people who are homeless, people who are squeezed in the middle, and people who are on the verge of falling off of the table in terms of housing. We have hungry kids going to school without food, without shoes, and without necessarily winter coats. We also have trouble on the roads. We need to explore options in transit and biking and walking and better road systems. I'm Lisa Maury, and I hope you vote for me on October 20th. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jeff Shields, and a big thank you to you for coming out tonight. I have a deep belief in giving back to community, which is why I put my name forward for council. My community service over the years includes a number of boards such as Big Brother, SEPCO, and Chilliwack Community Services. I'm a longtime Rotarian, a soccer coach, and was even a volunteer firefighter. I have always preferred to be a player rather than a spectator. Professionally, I've been a chartered accountant for over 25 years, including CFO of a $75 million company for the past 18 years. It is this combination of knowledge, experience, and commitment to the community that will make me an effective city councillor in Chilliwack. I believe in maintaining and growing a strong local economy, fiscal responsibility, and providing a safe community for our residents. We need a strong commercial tax base to fund all of our services and infrastructure, and I can provide the leadership to ensure that we not only attract new business, but help our existing business prosper and grow. Public safety, property crime, homelessness, and affordable housing are the hot-button topics of this year's election. I'm going to be honest, I don't have a silver bullet, but I do have the skill set to develop the solutions that will help us. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Ken Smith. I was born and raised in Chilliwack. Went to school here, graduated here. I've done some traveling. I founded a company at the Chilliwack Airport that is presently 30 years old, has done well and continues to do well. I've been involved in different organizations. I chaired the Flight Fest at the beginning for 2 or 3 years. I was on the SEPCO board for a year. I chaired the Aerospace Committee through SEPCO, and I'm presently the president of the Chilliwack Airport Tenants Association. I see and hope to be able to help Chilliwack through some of these rougher times that we have, and you know, to do with housing and to do with the fairness to, or listening to the electorate about the issues that they have. Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Deborah Suter, and I want you to vote for me for City Council on October 20th. What's important to me is what is important to you. We have limited space for new residential and industrial development, yet we understand the important economic benefits to improve the services we all need. We're proud of our natural parks, trails, and wetlands. I'm proud too. We're concerned, rightfully, about safety and security. We want our downtown to be a place where people want to live and shop. Chilliwack is a wonderful place to live, and we want our city to thrive. We need leadership that shares our vision of a city with our future in mind. I have a record of community service, passion for our community, and proven integrity to be a valuable part of a new, energized council.
I want to thank you all for your time tonight. I am Harv Westring. I was born and raised on a Greendale dairy farm. I have lived in Chilliwack proper, Sardis, Eastern Hillsides, and now Rosedale, so I am pretty in tune with the city. I have been president of the Chilliwack 4-H, Upper Fraser Valley Hockey League, and the East Chilliwack Elementary School PAC, and recently director of the Chilliwack and District Real Estate Board. I was involved in all these different organizations because I am a team player. I am able to work with anyone and arrive at a solution or at a policy that everyone at the table can support. And that is important because we are going to need teamwork to be an effective, efficient council to tackle the issues our city is currently facing. It is easy to talk, but I've countered that by laying out the planks of my platform on my webpage. My webpage has been up for 5 weeks, allowing everyone who is interested to see what I stand for, how we are able to get there. I will be accountable. Thanks.
Thank you. Let's just give all 14 candidates one more round of applause. Welcome. Now you've all heard them speak. You will hear them all speak at least 5 more times this evening. And now we're going to get to the heart of the evening, and that's the questions. So the questions have been online for a while. Over 270 of you participated in the poll. That's fantastic. Thank you so much for that. That's a strong showing statistically if we're looking at polls for the number of people that come out to vote in Chilliwack. And also, so if you haven't done so yet online or here, you can log on at slido.com and go to the event called Council, the number 4, CHWK, and either enter your questions or vote up the questions that are important. We already have the 5 chosen questions that are definitely leading in the polls for the top question. And the number 1 question that we're going to ask, we've also got our random teams already generated, so we're going to get right into it. And the way this is going to work, I'm going to say the question, and it'll pop up there. You'll see the technology jump back and forth a little bit because the questions are all queued up here. And then we're going to just say the one candidate's name, and the second candidate who's going to answer the same question, and the third will hear their name just before they answer it, just to kind of give everybody that same sense of fairness and randomness and equality. So the very first question we have is, it's a big one, and definitely homeless and visible. So this one's already got over 100 votes. And once they're been asked, you don't need to vote them up anymore. They're going to get archived and come back later for the last round. So homelessness and visible drug addiction have exploded in Chilliwack. What is your stance on how to approach this problem? And first up, we have Harv Westring. And you have 1.5 minutes.
I was last in the alphabet, and now I get this. Okay. This is a complicated issue, and there's no easy answer. And you can have no policy, but then that is your policy, and that will get us nowhere. So we need to have a policy, and that policy has got to be legal, effective, and practical. BC judges have repeatedly ruled that the homeless can hang out in our parks and sleep in our shop doorways unless we have other housing options for them. So we need to be able to offer housing before we can enforce any bylaws. But we don't want to get into the business of warehousing people. If we are going to be putting our homeless into housing, then we also need the funding from Fraser Health to support these people with their mental health and or addiction issues. Giving them shelter without support to deal with their underlying issues will benefit no one. To me, the solution to reducing homelessness is this: get more subsidized housing from BC Housing, CMHC, and other not-for-profit groups. While that housing is being built, you get the funding from Fraser Health for support programs. Then you can offer our homeless housing options, fulfilling the requirement from our BC courts. People who accept this housing have support programs from Fraser Health, and there is the potential there that their situation can get better every day. If we get the homeless who will accept our offer of subsidized housing out of the parks and off the streets, then it will be easier for the police to identify those people who want to continue with their criminal behavior. And those are the guys that we need to be tough on. Repeat offenders need to be harassed.
Your time's up. Sorry, that's one of the necessary evils of having a time restriction. The next up we have Louis DeJager.
Well, what I think we really need is commitment. We need a commitment from City Hall. We need commitment and leadership at City Hall. And we need the councillors really to commit to end homelessness. I don't know if anybody knows of Judy Graves, but at CHC, she just, there is an answer. I have one little story as well. I curl with a gentleman who works in emergency, and he said to me, he said, Louis, he said, when your dad needs to come in and there's 3 overdoses, or it's your daughter, or it's your son, they have to wait. He said, that's not what the emergency ward is for. So I am completely in favor of safe use sites. I think that's what's missing in this equation, as well as homelessness. And as soon as those things are put on the table, the science is already out there. What we need is just a big commitment from City Council, and I would push for that all the way.
And the last person for this question is Deborah Suter.
Thank you very much. This is a complicated problem. We have to attack it on many fronts. I'm proud to be part of a community that cares so much, and we see a lot of short-term problems being addressed by people providing food and temporary shelter. The supportive housing that's being built as we speak, I totally am in favor of and think the city's done a great job. But we also have to prevent addiction and homelessness by taking care of our young people and helping them not feel disenfranchised. We need to listen to our youth, find out what it is they want, and then implement it. And we also have to have a big picture of what we want our city to look like so that we have goals to measure against as we achieve them.
Thank you. So the next question for the next people, and the next team is actually only 2 people, one of those divisor by 3 problems, is that what role do you see the city playing in the recruitment and retention of physicians and other allied healthcare professionals? And the first person up for that is Ken Smith.
Well, I know this is a big problem. The first thing that might come to mind is, what does a doctor get when he comes to Chilliwack and he's overloaded with work? I have some friends that are doctors, and this is a complaint that I hear. So they work extremely hard. They can't keep up to it. They work extra hours all the time, and it's kind of a thankless job. One of the things that comes to mind is we have to find some kind of benefit for a doctor to come here. And the benefit can't be our city because it is a nice place to live. We already have that, so we may have to, look at a monetary change of some sort to get good doctors to come here and want to stay here. That's what I think.
Thank you. And next we have Jeff Shields.
Perfect. Yeah, we definitely have a shortage of doctors right now. There's the family doctor almost seems to be a thing of the past these days. I would suggest a doctor can basically work wherever he or she wants to. They have that. Once you're a doctor, you're a fine medical doctor. So I think the big thing is selling them on Chilliwack, selling them on what Chilliwack has to offer them, as opposed to Kelowna, as opposed to Vancouver, as opposed to the Kootenays. It's a matter of selling them on the city of Chilliwack, the amenities that we have, the schools we have, the neighborhoods we have. That's going to be what's going to bring them to Chilliwack. They can go wherever they want, so we have to make Chilliwack be the place that they want to live. Thank you.
Thank you. So for the next question, we have, what plans do you have that will reduce the crime rate in Chilliwack. And for this team, first up we have Sandy Macahonic. Sandy Matthews. Sorry, I'm mixing up names here. Sandy Matthews. I'm trying to read a screen over there. Sandy Matthews, sorry.
Thanks.
My apologies.
To reduce the crime rate, we actually need to have more RCMP officers on the ground. You really need to have enough officers available to form a task force so you can attack the supply chain of the drugs that are forcing all of this going on. And right now we seem to have a hard time maintaining the right amount of RCMP officers for a really, really expanding population. So I think the biggest thing is we need to have more RCMP officers on the ground and the ability for the management to form task force so they can, like say, attack the supply of drugs.
Thank you. Next up for the same question is Bud Mercer.
Thank you. Just so we're clear on crime rates, the RCMP had its lowest year last year in 5 years on violent crime. There was a drop of almost 18%. Overall crime in Chilliwack dropped last year by 7% over 2016. That said, the crime we have in Chilliwack is different because it's personal, it's in our face, it's there every day. It's attached for the most part to the homeless. It's all drug driven. 90% of the crime here is drug driven. And we see it every day. It's personal. The difficulty the police have here in reducing even further is the way that drug offenses here in town are handled. We don't have a drug court. They're reluctant to seize drugs because charges aren't laid by Crown. It's got nowhere to go. It's an open door. Even if you are successful in arresting someone here, and again, drugs is related to almost all crime in Chilliwack, it's a revolving door. People are released within 24 hours, they're addicts, they reoffend. So what's the problem? What's the root cause? There's nowhere for them to go to treatment. Even drug addicts in Chilliwack that want treatment have nowhere to go. And that's a provincial problem. And if we have MLAs where it's not on their priority list to have drug treatments close to us, then we need new MLAs. That's the problem.
Thank you. And next up, we do have Patty Macahonic.
Same question?
Yes.
Okay. So I really appreciated what was just said. I think that not just drug use, there's a lot of people out there with mental health issues, and there's nowhere for them to go. I think, there's short-term and there's long-term. I see every day the effects of crime in the work that I do, and it's not pretty, and it's a problem. It's a big problem. And we need to have preventative services. We need to have more services for youth. We need to have treatment centers that are easily accessible when people need them. They're there and they're ready to go. And then we need to work on the long-term kind of a strategy and working in the community so that things like the BC or the Chilliwack Healthier Communities that I'm a part of, we actually do a lot of work behind the scenes. I think the RCMP go above and beyond. I see that. They're starting new groups, ICM, and so that when there are really dangerous situations that we pull together groups quickly and that we can react in a way and respond in a way that actually makes a difference and helps. But really, I think what we need to do is prevention, 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 and it needs to start young. It needs to start in our schools. It needs to start in our community services and our cultural services. We need to have opportunities for young people to be engaged in outdoor recreation, and those are the things that matter. Thank you.
So just quickly, is there anybody who still does not have technology with them and wants to ask a question? I just want to make sure you're connecting with the people here with iPads, so there is somebody up there. There's still lots of questions coming in. Please still vote up those questions. There's definitely a lot of activity going on, so that's great. So let's go to the next question. The next question is, as the population of Chilliwack grows, or of the population of Chilliwack and the Fraser Valley grows, what steps will you take to create a green transit system that connects to other cities? And for this one, we have incumbent Councillor Sue Attrell.
Thank you very much. We have a really great transit plan that we have been following over the last few years, and we have managed to grow the transit system in Chilliwack. We also have been looking to green possibilities when we are looking at electric cars, and there's charging stations now at City Hall and the Fraser Valley Regional District. As we look to convert over to greener types of power, you know, it's not something that happens overnight, but there is a long-term plan to make sure that we do bring in more green buses and that sort of thing within our community. The other thing that we're doing is bike lanes everywhere. We are looking for the communities to be able to get around our community in a green way so that it's safe and well connected across the city, so that you can travel all the way from the Better River all the way to the other side of the highway and be able to use bike lanes. So those are some of the things that we have done, and certainly I would say that I would support going forward any green initiatives that come up and new technology that will help us protect our environment and this beautiful Fraser Valley that we live in. Thank you.
Thank you. You saw his finger going to that bell, didn't you? So for next up, for the same question, we have Cameron Hall.
Thank you. First off, we have done a fair number, and I'll give not just this past council, but the council previous, some kudos for increasing our transit options. But I'll be blunt, that was started from the community, and it was one of those cases where the leaders followed. So there's that. The other one I would say, though, is there's a lot to be done. For example, the 66 Express, now with Greyhound shutting down services, this is a great opportunity for the Fraser Valley Regional District, of course, the Chilliwack being the seat of that, to really step up and take a role in that. But here's the problem, it goes to Carvoth Exchange, and I wonder if anyone in the room can tell me where Carvoth Exchange is. We got a handful, but why wouldn't it just go to the SkyTrain? You know, there's that. The other one also is, for example, you know there's not a bus that goes right to City Hall? In a city of almost 100,000, you can't take the bus to City Hall. I thought that was crazy. So I think there's some work that needs to be done. We've done some great work with bike lanes. That needs to continue, of course. But really, this was about connecting other cities. I think that we can do a lot of that work through the Fraser Valley Regional District, and that work needs to continue. It started with the 66. And for those of you that are thinking, well, you know, transit, it needs to be user pay, all that kind of stuff, it's just a transit option. We don't ask people to pay for the road through tolls. We pay through tax, hence also transit as well. Thank you.
Thank you. And next up, we have incumbent Councillor Jason Lum.
Thank you. So I'm glad that the Route 66 was mentioned. So that is our first attempt at interregional transit system. It was initiated here in the Fraser Valley. One of the challenges with interconnecting with the TransLink system is the fact that we had to beg and plead for landing rights at Carvoth. It would be way better to go across the bridge, go to Braid Station, connect right into the SkyTrain. That's what we wanted from the beginning. But we're negotiating with another giant regional transit system, and in comparison, we're very, very small. So that was a goal. I want to talk quickly about Cycle Vision and our the Valley Rail Trail, because I think that's going to be a game changer here when it comes to fruition. You're going to be able to go north-south across the city of Chilliwack on a separated bike lane. Eventually, you'll go all the way into along the rail right-of-way into Abbotsford, we hope. I've had the conversation started with our Abbotsford counterparts. It's fantastic that I've been able to, serve you on the regional district, because I get to advocate for these kind of interregional connections, not just on busing, but I believe we can make a viable alternative on cycling infrastructure as well. So there is infrastructure that's there already. The Old Yale Wagon Trail exists, and there's a right-of-way. We just need the political will, and I believe that's there, and there's good momentum. So thank you.
And just quickly, remember, that's the 10-second warning. You get 10 seconds to conclude after the bell. We got all this technology up here, and we got a bell.
I just panic when I hear the bell. I just panic. I just stop. Sorry.
So for the next and final round, to get our final three candidates to speak to a question for round one, the question is, what do you foresee as the greatest challenges in the near future for the city of Chilliwack? How do you plan to address them? And for this question, we have first up Terry Cross.
Greatest challenge in Chilliwack will be moving people from one side to the other. The road structure in Chilliwack is limited and it needs to grow. We also need to have more infrastructure for buses, bike lanes, as you've previously heard, but they have to work for everyone. We have a major group of people moving out in East Chilliwack, and the road structure on the sides are just not built for them. The Annis Road interchange is very weak. It's kind of dangerous at times with the amount of traffic going over it. The same things with Evans. We need to have a vision of how much more people will be in different areas in Chilliwack and the road structure that we're going to use for them. That would, to me, would be the greatest challenge. Thank you.
Thank you. And next up we have Lisa Morey.
Thank you. I think the greatest challenges facing us are housing, transportation, and child poverty, and those are the platforms upon which I am running. In terms of housing, what can we do? Well, the city has tremendous zoning powers, and it can use those powers to change things for the better. We can explore innovative solutions like tiny houses, or laneway houses, or zoning that allows for illegal basement suites, something different. In Vancouver, they even are exploring having parking for people who are sleeping in their cars. But in general, we need to deal with housing. There are people who are feeling squeezed in the middle, people like you and me who are working folks, and we're finding it hard just to make ends meet. And there are people who are homeless, and the city's doing a great job of getting homeless people off the streets. But we can be better. We can be Medicine Hat. Medicine Hat has managed to defeat homelessness and keep it that way for 2 years, resulting in a savings in emergency services, vandalism, crime, and health services to the community. Hungry kids, I've already mentioned when I first had a chance to speak that we can be doing more to feed kids and to give kids opportunities and to make sure they have shoes and coats and that they can participate in community life. And transportation, well, I think we're all experienced with sitting on the road in our cars trying to get somewhere. So green initiatives, cycling, walking, and transit down the freeway. Thank you.
Thank you. And for the last person for this question, we have incumbent Councillor Chris Clute.
Great, thank you. Great question. One of the biggest challenges I see within our community is affordability. Everywhere from Metro Vancouver out to the Valley is affected by the stress of additional people coming to their community. I think Council has taken a proactive approach this past summer, if you will recall, where we are allowing secondary suites within an R1A zone, as well as the opportunity, I should say, of a coach house within a R1A zone, as long as design guidelines are followed, parking requirements are met. And I think it's a very proactive way to look at tackling the affordability issue within our community. We understand family situations are changing. Mortgage helpers are essential with younger families, and that's what we've done here at Chilliwack. We continue to have those conversations on how we can move forward. The north side of the freeway is a little bit hindered. I talked about laneway houses as well, but because of the floodplain restrictions, we are pretty hampered there on that side unless a coach house would go in on the property, and we've certainly encouraged that. We want to see more opportunity within the community for different housing arrangements, and another thing, and it comes in part to this, is the homeless challenge. Over 200 units and beds in the last year and a half have been designated for Chilliwack, and most of those are under construction right now. 80 units in the Waterstone project behind Canton Garden are weeks away from opening, 1 to 4 bedroom units for affordable rental housing within our community. We're making good steps in the right direction.
So that's round one. You've heard every single candidate speak on an issue, on a random question that they were assigned. And also, just so you if there's anybody still in the audience who has not had the chance to ask a question without technology, please make sure you raise your hand. I do believe they're out and about, making sure they're catching those questions. If you've already voted on your top 3 or 4 questions, we've asked 5 questions. There are 10 more questions that are going to be asked. You can go in and vote those up. It's making my job difficult because we got 3 questions that are neck and neck right now, but they have half the votes of the very top question. Go in there and give that one your vote, because it is now the next question that's going to be asked. Your question that was already voted is gone. The next vote you give is just making sure that the next question you want is going to be asked. So you can keep voting. You can only vote each question once, but do go out there and give those questions your support. So the next 10 questions that come up are the most important questions that are, in Chilliwack that we need to deal with. So that was round, and I see people are paying attention because now we suddenly got 20 more votes on that one question. That's great. So what's happening, so that's round 1. We're going to do this 2 more times with 5 and 5 more questions. And at that time, candidates, remember, you're keeping track of the question that really speaks to you, because I can't bring all 15 questions up later, so I'm expecting you to speak to the question that really speaks to you. So for the next question, we are going to look at this one. Have you generated a new team? Yes, good. Thank you. With legalization of cannabis just around the corner, what is your view on the placement of growing facilities, commercial, industrial, or agricultural? And first up for this question, we have Louis DeJager.
Great, nice question. Well, the one thing that's missing and has been missing in this equation for ours... Oh, I'm sorry. I think the one thing that has been missing in this equation right from the beginning is no involvement of First Nations. We already see that they're well ahead of the curve. They've got the market segment, and they're, like any other business person, they're first out of the gate. Unfortunately, without dialogue with First Nations, there's nothing that we can do without some sort of relationship being built and them being brought to the table. The other thing is education. We talked about this at Chilliwack Healthier Communities. The city, what it can do is start putting some information inside those retail outlets, information on addiction and on help that's available in the city. Everybody's just running to sell it rather than saying, okay, let's make sure we're doing this properly. I just think that this is all just so fast that we haven't really had a chance to think about what the implications might be. So I would encourage dialogue with First Nations so that we're all on the same page and we can do this in a good way and monitor, and plan really what we're going to do.
Thank you. And next up, we have incumbent Councillor Chris Clue.
Great, I was hoping to get that question. So, my view on cannabis on agricultural land, I'm not in favor of that. I believe it belongs within an industrial zone. The city of Chilliwack does have an M6 zone. As you recall, before my time on council, council prior to me being there had created a zone for cannabis growing facilities. The province of British Columbia overruled that and said it was a permitted use on the agricultural land reserve. It had been something that had been near and dear to me. I've seen several repurposed greenhouses within our community with no odor controls they've impacted the neighborhood very negatively. And I've spoke to, at the time, the ag critic, who was Lana Popham, who is now the agricultural minister, and she has appointed me to a provincial committee that we're busy with touring the province, which we did in the spring. Heard it from every community, from Fort St. John to Cranbrook to Nanaimo to Kelowna. This is a problem. It's a gray area at this time. How much cannabis do we need for the consumption, for the market? Facilities are being built, and the interim report went to the minister in July. The provincial government has brought in a small win that no non-soil-based cannabis has to be an application to the ALC. So that means you cannot have concrete bottom at this point. So we're still working on that. We still have a long ways to go. Thank you.
Thank you. And final view on this question is Bud Mercer.
When does my time start? All right.
As soon as you start talking.
As in my later years in the RCMP, I was responsible for international drug enforcement, which included the west side of the country and the Asia-Pacific countries. So it's no surprise to hear that I wasn't in agreement with the legalization of marijuana. That said, I've gotten over it, sort of. When it comes to grow-ops, I'll call them, in the city, I don't believe they should be in the agricultural land areas. It is an industrial business. It's an industrial setup. They're hydroponic labs for the most part, and they simply don't belong on the LRT or in the agricultural land that we freeze here in the Chilliwack area. One of the things that has to be done is the controls and background checks on who has the licenses has to be more stringent to ensure that organized crime, which was celebrated as not being able to profit from it anymore, we have to make sure that they're not actually acquiring the legal licenses now to actually grow it. That's something that should have been done before it was legalized, but again, that ship has left. We do have an opportunity, though, if I advance that a little bit, to control where it is sold in the city, proximity to schools, which will be regulated, where it can be smoked. The stories in Denver and other places where it is legal is families are tired of walking through the smoke clouds as they walk up the streets. So we have to control that moving forward, but stay within the law. Thank you.
Thank you. And remember to keep voting up your questions because the questions are definitely neck and neck, some of the questions. So for our next set of questions, we have, with many people moving to Chilliwack due to the increase in housing, the traffic has increased heavily. What are ways to improve traffic flow? And first up for that question, we have Sandy Matthews.
Well, the best way to improve traffic flow is to have a better bus system. The bus system we have now is in its infancy, and we need to have faster times. People don't like to wait a half an hour or an hour for a bus to show up in front of them, or else they just don't use the transit. They'll hop in their car because it only takes a few minutes to get across town right now, unless it's in the morning or at school, when school is out. So I think we need to have a better bus system to improve it. We also need to have a look at a secondary route off of Promontory. Promontory is growing so quickly that it's overtaken its ability to drain the system up there in the mornings and the evenings heading home. And I think that we need to look at another option of having another access up onto Promontory. And I don't know about how they do the light timing and stuff, but it seems as you're trying to get across town, it seems you hit one red light after another. And it doesn't seem like there's any coercion or anything at all. But to me, the bus system will help us the best.
Thank you. And for this question, Jeff Shields.
Thank you, Alan. So Chilliwack is still a very vehicle-dependent community. We're a long ways away from being a cycling community.
Use your mic, sir.
Sorry. We're a long ways away from being a cycling community, so we have to concentrate on traffic for the next foreseeable future. So the key thing with traffic is keeping it moving. And one of the things that we've had in Chilliwack that has really, really worked well are roundabouts. I don't know if you can imagine what Evans would be like if we had lights there. We'd have traffic backed up all over the place. So it's made a difference there. It's made a difference on Press Road. It's going to make a huge difference going up to Cultus Lake. It already has with the Vetter Bridge. And we also need to prioritize where we expand the traffic flow. There's main north-south corridors that we need to work on. Press Road needs to be widened, and very quickly. It's a huge problem. The Vetter corridor between Promontory and Keith Wilson, we need extra lanes in there. That's going to be 4 to 5 lanes. And I do understand that that is in the works. It's slowly, as you can well imagine, there's property that has to be bought so that that road can be widened. The Lickman interchange, I personally go through that every day, and it can be terrible if you hit it at 3 o'clock. So that's the thing. Prioritize and work on keeping traffic moving. Thank you.
Thank you. So that was the round of 2 questions. So next we have another question that speaks to this, speaking to this question. Aside from parks and rec trails, what do you envision that will augment and enhance the cultural health and tourism draw to Chilliwack? And first up for this, we have Deborah Suter.
Thanks. Do you remember the Jazz Festival? It was awesome. We brought people in from all over North America. Culture is a broad subject, and the city can play a bigger role in attracting culture and enhancing it in our community. The trails and recreation are fantastic, and we can capitalize on that with marketing. We can invite more people to come and enjoy our world-class facilities. We know that people from Europe are just gobsmacked when they come here. Our fishing is fabulous, which means we have to take care of our wetlands. So we can invite people to come here, and we have to take care of what we have. Thank you.
Thank you. Same question. We have Patty Makahonic.
Thank you. So I'm an avid fisher person, been a fisheries advocate, so I think we have our fishery is really should be supported strongly. It's a strong economic driver. When I was working with the Chamber of Commerce, I had some conversations with people, and I still think it's a great idea, and a vision of a 100-mile destination market for our community. We have everything that it takes. We have farms, we have potters, we have all of the different things, and we could have people coming. I think it would be a big boost to our downtown, and I think it's very doable. We need better allocation of our funding for arts and culture. I know that right here they get pretty well funded, but per capita we're kind of low on our funding for arts and culture, and it all kind of goes into one place. And some of the other groups, and there may be some of you here today, are kind of starving for funds and really, really working hard, and so it should be allocated more fairly. And yeah, I just think that we live in a beautiful, beautiful area. I live out in the Chilliwack River Valley, and outdoor recreation, it also ties into prevention, getting kids involved, families involved. And when I was with the BC Wildlife Federation as ED, that's a lot of work I've done in the province, is getting people connected to the outdoors. Thank you.
And final answer to this question is Terry Cross.
Knew that was going to happen. I fish. I spend a lot of time on the Fraser and the Vedder, and both those areas need some enhancement on cleanup that will draw more people into the areas. Going up to Sham, I can honestly say we should enhance that road and structure going up there. We have a lot of people from Europe that come and visit us, and we take them up there. Other than the road, they would enjoy the hikes, trails, and area up there. Chilliwack Lake is another wonderful area. We can increase the area around that for parking, trails, and camping. I know the Chilliwack Lake people won't like that, but boy, is it ever spectacular, especially going back to the old side, on the back side of the lake. Cultus is another area that could use some changes in the way it's handled. The overabundance of people in the summertime seems to actually draw back from the enjoyment of that area. And Better Mountain, the trails up there my kids use on their bikes, they could help. It would draw a lot more people in there. I think Chilliwack is a destination for environmental use, for culture, hiking, mountain climbing, and with a little help and a little vision, we could draw a lot more tourism in here for it. Thank you.
Thank you. So for our next question, there's a business-related question. How do you anticipate Chilliwack being able to attract new businesses and economic development over the next 5 years? You know, your term is 4 years, but how do you anticipate Chilliwack being able to attract businesses and economic development over the next 5 years? And first up for that question, we have Cameron Hull.
Thank you very much. This is a multifaceted question, to be honest, but one of the first ways we can do it is, and actually the Chamber, as a matter of fact, just started these conversations. Chilliwack isn't alone where we stand. We are surrounded by neighbors, specifically our First Nations community neighbors. They need to be brought, they need to come to the table. We need to invite them to the table to have this discussion. One of the biggest ones, for example, for economic development is our industrial land. We're running out, quite simply. and he put a price tag on it. We're approximately $1 million an acre for industrial land here. Langley's at $2 million. That doesn't take very long to figure out that we can draw businesses here. Groups like SEPCO has done that with Molson's and with Cal Tire. But with the land running out, we need to be able to collaborate properly with our neighbors, and without that, we're dead in the water. So I think the biggest answer, the easiest answer for attracting a business is to collaborate with our neighbors and not just realize that we're this little island all by ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you. And next up for the same question is Lisa Mori.
Thank you. I think one of the big problems that Chilliwack has in terms of attracting business here is the issues downtown, and businesses have actually closed up and left, and there's a lot of empty storefronts down there. So we have to clean up the downtown, and how do we do that? Because I know people have been trying. I think if you build it, they will come. So we need to build in the downtown, and there's a lovely project that is on the verge of being started downtown. If you've seen the revitalization project, it looks really lovely. You also have to deal with the homelessness and the crime downtown and solve those problems so that businesses are happy to locate there and be safe. You also have to effectively use an organization like the Chilliwack Economic Partners Corporation to reach out to businesses, and indeed there has been some success there in attracting larger businesses, and work on the Canada Education Park, the Film Commission, and Chilliwack Innovation. So that's been good. Definitely work with partners, definitely work with First Nations. We share this land, and we're on the unceded territory of the Stolo Nation. Affordable housing. Employees don't have places they can afford to live. So we're going to become like other places where they can't attract employees to work in the service industry because people don't have places to live because rentals are too expensive. So in a lot of ways, everything comes down to housing. So if we can deal with the problems downtown, revitalize it, and work with our neighbors, hopefully we can attract more business here. Thank you.
Thank you. And the final candidate on this is incumbent Councillor Sue Attrell.
Thank you, and thank you for this question. I have to say that one of the best ways that we attract business to our community is making sure that we have a really great quality of life here, and that there's going to be lots of employees available for businesses. One of the biggest challenges that they have is a lack of employees. So when you are building a city and you're looking at developing, you're creating spaces that are going to be available for young people, professional people, making sure that you have a variety of houses and a variety of housing options for people so that you can keep your young people in the community, you can attract doctors and lawyers and other employees of professional people to businesses. You want to make sure that there's all sorts of housing options for them. We've given a lot of incentives to developers to make sure that they are building smaller units. We are, for low income and that sort of thing, to make sure that we do have housing available. But it's also the overall quality of the community and making sure that people are going to be attracted here. They want to know that their employees are going to stay with them and live and work in this community for a long time. So, thank you.
Thank you. So we have one more question for this round, so that still means we have 6 questions to go, so make sure you get out there, get your opinions heard on slido.com so we can ask your question. And if you haven't yet asked a question, make sure you do wave someone down here and we'll be there to grab a question. So the last question for this round is, what is your position on property tax increases in the city of Chilliwack? And first up for this, we have incumbent Councillor Jason Lum.
Thanks for the question. So I have been consistent in supporting low tax increases year over year, every year since I've been on council. I think we're in an enviable position of having one of the lowest, if not the lowest, business class multiplier here in the Lower Mainland. That being said, there's a conversation that's coming up about should we raise our taxes to get more services? And my answer back to that is, well, what are we missing? We're hearing concerns about homelessness and public safety. We've just come off of increasing our RCMP by almost 20%, our contingent of RCMP. We build some of the most beautiful amenities around, and we do it by saving before we spend, we don't go into debt. So I would put the question back, are we missing something? What are we missing that would require us to raise our taxes up? Because I fully believe that in order to keep small businesses, and this dovetails into the last question, and job creators here in the community, we need to keep tax dollars in their pockets, and not just them, but talking about young families, we're talking about people just starting out, and I believe that we have to stay conservative when it comes to tax increases and keeping that money in your pocket where you can decide where you'll spend it.
Thank you. And we have Harv Westring.
Thank you. My position on taxes is I'd like to keep them as low as possible. I know Ralph Klein always used to promote the Alberta Advantage, and I think that's something that maybe in Chilliwack we should start doing too. You know, the Chilliwack Advantage. We've got super low taxes, we've got loads of economic opportunities, and we've got a great livability score. And low taxes obviously attracts businesses here, and businesses create jobs, and jobs will help a city with a lot of its ills. So all those things mean that you know, I'm a supporter of keeping the taxes low for sure. With housing affordability, it also plays into it. Taxes is obviously a cost, so the higher the cost gets passed on to the consumer and also to the renter. So I'm a big believer in keeping our taxes low, and I'll definitely work towards that. Thank you.
Thank you. And final candidate is Ken Smith.
My position on the taxes, you know, we can say we'd like to keep it lower, but we're also searching for infrastructure that's not in place and that's causing big problems. I think to some degree we might have to look at how much taxes we're charging. The money's got to come from somewhere. We grow at a terrific rate here. You can't drive down the road. You know, I live over in Garrison, and we have a heck of a time getting back and forth. So how do we fix this problem? Well, the infrastructure seems to be late. They say they have a plan. I hear a lot of people are really upset about it when the traffic's backed up right from, you know, Save on Foods there to try and get up to Promontory after work. So I think to some degree we have to look at getting this money from somewhere, and it comes from taxes. So I guess my position on that in terms of reality, we're going to have to raise the taxes somewhere down the line to suit our lifestyle that we want to have. So that's my view on that.
Thank you. Okay, so that puts us at the halfway point. We're not going to have an actual intermission, but you know, I'm also on the Chilliwack Healthier Communities Committee. So why don't we just stand for 5 or 10 seconds and stretch and get some blood flow going. And we're also going to refill some water here because there's some water bottles that are getting empty. So just stand just for 10, 15 seconds and then we'll...
I'm good. So, really? No, I'm good. I thought you asked me if I wanted water. That's what I heard.
No, like I said, you're being honest, and that's not so good.
You got to know it's coming, though, right? They'll ask me what I think of vegans or something. I know it's coming.
Well, yeah, it'll be about time.
Thank you.
Once, but the second time?
You got the best questions, yeah. Crime and then cannabis.
I'm good. Yeah.
Okay, we'll just get sitting down and get ready to go again. So once again, thank you all for coming out.
And thank you for putting your questions on slido.com. We currently have over 41 questions online, and we have 5 more that we're going to be asking. So if you still want to get some say into it, right now you can still vote. I think the top voted question right now has like 72 or 73 votes. We had 271 people participate in the poll, so there's a lot of people that can still vote. If so, we got 5 more questions for round 3, and then round 4, the candidates will be able to basically answer a question of their choice. So without further ado, we'll get started on round 3, and the very This is the question. What is your view, or why is the BIA responsible for security funds and not the city? So for this one, we have Deborah Suter.
Thank you. I guess everybody is kicking in to help out with security problems. I know at our church we have our own security company. We rely on the BIA security during the day, but we have a security service for our nighttime calls. The city, I believe, should have a stronger role in the security. The private security companies aren't regulated the same way that a city-run security would be. And when we don't have that oversight, we don't have the control or the direction that we want. I hear mixed messages from many of the people at the other end of the security, and it is inconsistent. People in Chilliwack care a lot, and we are not always thrilled to hear that some people who, for no fault of their own, don't have a place to spend the night, and they are being asked to move along, and sometimes quite roughly. So I would like to see more city oversight.
Thank you. And up next we have Ken Smith.
Well, to be honest, I'm not really familiar with that. The BIA, from what I know, is very much in tune with the old downtown, so probably having them responsible for the security is probably makes sense. And I know that it's needed downtown because of all the things that we see that go on down there. It would, it's once removed from the city, which I don't think is good. And, I think that the city needs to somehow organize a security for the whole city through the RCMP or however they're going to do it.
Thank you. And final answer to this question is Harv Westring.
I think the city's main role is to provide efficient services to business and to property. Like, that's really the main role of the city. And I was quite surprised to hear that the BIA spends 1/3 of their budget every year on security. I want to do whatever I can to promote and attract and retain business in the downtown, especially now that Elgo Brothers is going to go down there. It's a perfect opportunity to kind of turn that corner and do what we can to help our businesses downtown. I don't know what the rationale is that the city isn't picking up that tab for security, but if elected, I would definitely look into that and see if we could reverse that policy. If the BIA is collecting fees, it's obviously collecting fees to promote and encourage business downtown and not to keep people from sleeping in their doorways and discarding needles around the corners. So that's my take on it. Thanks.
Thank you. So for our next question, how do you plan to address urban and agriculture, How do you plan to address urban and agriculture interface issues in our growing community? And first up for this question, we have Lisa Mori.
Thank you. I think that with the Agricultural Land Reserve and the Agricultural Land Commission currently under review, that perhaps there will be some new knowledge coming out of that, but we definitely have to respect and preserve our agricultural land. We definitely have to take care of it. We need to protect it from having mansions and other permanent fixtures built upon it as much as we possibly can. At the same time, we need to celebrate and promote it. I never understood why we didn't have a fantastic farmers market here in Chilliwack, and we need to promote also agritourism. The seeds of that are already here. There's some great farms that have some great businesses based upon the products and the vegetables and the fruits and different things that they grow and produce on their land. So I think that we can live in harmony with agriculture. We are agriculture, it's our roots, and we can get along just fine.
Thank you. And next up, we have incumbent Councillor Chris Clute.
Wow, I was hoping for that one too, so it's going my way. This can, I got 4 words for this, people. 4 words. Go up, not out. That's what we have to do. We have to densify. We have to protect our agricultural land. 1 in 5 jobs in Chilliwack is related to agriculture. I do not think we should even remotely consider looking at our agricultural land for our community. We need to save that. We need to preserve that, the food-producing lands for generations to come. We don't want to rely on the U.S., especially after this week. And the reality is, people, we have to look at becoming more creative, and that probably means higher density, which could potentially mean higher buildings, 8, 10 stories, but we have that opportunity to do that here, I think. So.
Thank you. An important question, but we only have 2 on that list. So to our next question. So this question and 2 more after this. And that will be the final 15, that will be the 15 questions for the evening. So many cities, including Vancouver, are creating zoning for tiny homes to help low and middle class individuals. What are your thoughts on this? And first up for this question, we have Sandy Matthews.
I think the tiny home issue is a tiny issue. I think that Chilliwack should look at more adding additional above garage homes on the lowlands and then basement suites in the upperlands, because it's a much more efficient way to do it. A tiny home only has a lifespan of about 20 to 30 years, and then it's done. And you'll be replacing it, and it's really going to interfere with your neighbor, especially on the smaller lots. So I think for Chilliwack, our solution should be carriage homes and basement suites for most of the areas.
Thank you. And Patty McAhonick.
Thank you. So there are different options, and I think we need to be creative because we have a very serious unaffordable housing problem. So we can implement zoning and building regulations that encourage affordable housing. That's what municipalities can do. Social housing and rental housing only units. The city can also lease land to nonprofit housing developers, and that's a process called municipal leasing, and that's a really good solution. Inclusionary zoning is another strategy, and make sure affordable housing units are included in private developments. Encourage the development of 3- and 4-bedroom units for families. We're talking about bringing in people like physicians. We're talking about increasing our business over the next 5 years. We need to have places for people to live, and we don't. Commit to developing a local housing strategy that invites the participation of locals affected with lived experience to set goals and targets for housing that actually meets their needs. So there's a lot we can do as a municipality, and I think that we can step up and we can make a difference. The tiny housing option, it's a good option, but what about families? That's what we need to look at. We want families to come in. We want families that are able to have housing and have schools and attract them to our community. So thank you.
Thank you. And final answer for this question is Jeff Shields.
Thank you. So the tiny house thing, I wouldn't be in favor of creating zoning for that. I do not see. Sorry, keep forgetting. I think I got a loud voice. The tiny house thing, that really doesn't make a lot of sense to me because I don't think it solves any issues. The reason that we have high prices right now is a lack of supply. We put a bunch of tiny houses all over Chilliwack. You're not increasing supply. You want to densify. You want to get townhouses in there. You want to get condos in there where you can get more people. And as soon as you get that supply up, it's going to drive the price down. We all went through it where there's a lack of supply, and 2 years ago, somebody would put their house on the market for $600,000, and there'd be a bidding war up to $700,000, $800,000. People are willing to pay anything just to get that house. That was because of lack of supply. So we need more supply. Tiny houses aren't going to do it, not at all. It's going to be future densification, and there's already plans in place for Chilliwack proper, Fairfield Island, where those lots are a lot bigger, and you can fit a lot more houses on them nowadays. So that's where I would go, as opposed to tiny houses. Thank you.
Thank you. So down to our final two questions. The next question we have is downtown development. How do you see attracting new business to the downtown? So how do you see that we attract new businesses to the downtown? And first up for this, we have incumbent councillor Jason Lum.
Thanks for the question. So since 2011, I was involved in the creation of the downtown revitalization strategy here in Chilliwack. We're just starting to see come to fruition with the new Algra project. One of the key aspects of that plan was to aggressively market the opportunity for redevelopment in the downtown. One of the things that I'm most proud about, which I believe will make this project unique, is the retention of the heritage character and a bunch of the heritage buildings in the downtown. You will recall, I wasn't the biggest fan of tearing down some of the heritage aspects in our downtown, so it was a huge win in my mind to be able to preserve and protect the things that make the downtown unique, and honestly will attract businesses to want to move into a unique building. I have nothing against brand new construction, but it's really hard to find the kind of 1920s coved ceilings and some of the unique features that you will find in the downtown right now. So I think that's an excellent way, adaptive reuse in attracting businesses, cool businesses into our downtown that are going to bring people, the kind of people that we want to see into the downtown, create foot traffic, and create the kind of excitement that we need to promote revitalization. I think I'm going to stop right there. That's it.
Thank you. So before I get to the final two candidates that are going to answer that question, I need your help. I have one question left, and they're neck and neck. Can you go online and make the choice for me? Thank you. So go to slido.com and pick the top 2 or 3 questions and give me your vote if you haven't done so yet. So the next up for this question, downtown development, is incumbent councillor Sue Attrell.
Okay, thank you very much. Further to what Councillor Lum had to say about the downtown core, I think everyone is excited to see also that Community Services is going to be bringing back the Paramount sign. I think that the development that is going in at Five Corners, we have fought hard for years and years and years to put together those parcels of land and to get that development ready so that someone can come in and just absolutely transform our downtown core. I know that the Algra brothers have done an amazing project in Abbotsford and have brought some really great anchor tenants, and I know that that is their plan here as well. So they plan to bring in anchor tenants into the area, and as you see that area develop, there will become a tipping point where people say, you know what, that's where I want to be. And they're putting a lot of residential above the commercial level. And so there'll be a lot of eyes on the street. It's going to give us an entirely different feel for that area. And once you see that new Paramount sign go up and see the facades of those buildings being restored to their original beauty, I think it's going to be an amazing place to be with street vendors and all sorts of beautiful cafes and places to go. I know that I certainly plan to spend a lot of time in that area, and I'm excited to see what's going to happen. Thank you.
Thank you. And final answer on this question is Louis De Jager.
Okay, I don't see the question.
To the mic.
It's downtown.
Downtown development.
I think we're on the right track. No, I don't see it on there. Why is that? Is it on here?
It's up.
Just use your microphone, it's up on there. Downtown development. How do you see attracting new businesses to the downtown?
Well, I think we have to definitely support the BIA. That's something that hasn't been done, especially, I'm going to hit that BIA question a bit because we were both on the board and being strapped with having to supply security. It just tied our hands, so we weren't able to help the businesses down there. As we move forward with the downtown development, I think we have to look at the businesses that are there and have been there for a long time. Bravo Restaurant is one. Chili's is another. Calentina have struggled it out for a long, long time. There's an element of sort of crime that is surviving on what's happening, the disadvantages down there. So if you're going to do any development, I think you have to think about housing and a lot of other things before we even get there. So we have to learn to walk before we can run and even get to this level. That's just me from on the ground. I mean, I invested everything I had into a business downtown, and I can see the struggles that everyone's having. So having a new and shiny bike to ride, you know, is still the same neighborhood. We have to work on that first.
Thank you. And I want to thank you, the audience, for helping me out, because one of the questions that is now the next question was not even remotely at the top, so that's great. We're getting the questions that mean things. So for our next question, and our final question is, what are your thoughts on Chilliwack having a local enforcement service like the Chilliwack City Police System, like Abbotsford does, in lieu of more RCMP officers? And first on the list, we have Cameron Hall.
Thank you. What we're doing isn't working, straight up. I support the RCMP like fat kids love cake. I have stood before council on many occasions asking for more funding for our emergency services, particularly the RCMP. However, I believe that a full assessment needs to be done to see if the RCMP are fulfilling the needs of our citizens. The city of Surrey and the city of Richmond both have questions about their RCMP detachments. I think we need to do a feasibility study to see about what will it really cost to go it alone as a police service, or do we follow the recommendations of oh my goodness, I just forgot who did the policing report, to go with regional policing and see if Abbotsford has the appetite to do that. Because I will say this, and this happened. We had an RCMP member attend an event, and the RCMP member said, well, how do you know they committed a crime? What's your proof? My only thought was, wait a second, my job is to tell you I think there's a problem. I thought it was your job to investigate and then take things to Crown. And if I have to do it, why are you here? Thank you.
Thank you. And next up, we have Terry Cross.
What a bold question. Absolutely. We've had RCMP in Chilliwack since Chilliwack's been here, and they've served us extremely well. Private policing, local policing, on average runs about $30,000 per member more. That's a thought that we have to all think about. RCMP are connected federally, and they also work within the region, among other members. I like the RCMP. I'm sorry, but regional, not happening for me. We work really hard in this community to establish the contacts, the areas, the members, the cars. If we have to switch everything over, it's not going to happen overnight, folks. It's going to be a 5 to 10 year process. And could we really wait for that to happen? Where are we going to get them people? Like there's a shortage of members in RCMP and private policing right now. We'll be years waiting for that to happen. Sorry, I will stick with the RCMP. Thank you.
Thank you. And the final answer to this question is Bud Mercer.
That wasn't fair.
I think much of what the RCMP does and how it's funded is not known by the average person, and nor would you. Every RCMP member, for example, if our contract was $10 million for the RCMP, the federal government pays $10 million. That's the contract that the city has with the RCMP and the federal government. Other pros, if an RCMP officer is off duty for 30 days, the city no longer pays for them, and that money is used by the city elsewhere. When you have the RCMP in your jurisdiction and you have a lost child and you need 2 dog handlers, you'll get 10. If you need 10 policemen, you'll get 100. If you need 1 helicopter, you get 3. And that's what comes with the RCMP. They're a premier police force in the world. The world comes to Depot to learn how we do it. The jurisdiction to the west of us that was just referenced was one of the only jurisdictions that had a rise in the crime rate in 2007, while we celebrated a lower crime rate. My heart's obviously with the RCMP.
Okay, thank you. So we've now come to the end of the 3 rounds of random questions and random candidates. We are going to generate another random, set of names to come up with the last question that you want to answer, and that is a question of your choice. So I'm just going to give you about 5 or 10 seconds to kind of just frame your thoughts around that while our technical team at the back queues up those questions, so I can at least try to get it up there for you. And we'll also generate the team. Oh, sorry.
So you can pick any questions that was asked, but that you didn't answer.
So there's one of the questions, but we'll get started. I won't necessarily have all the questions out there. Hopefully you guys are ready with your answer. So for the first person, question of your choice, so what I'd like you to do is state the question, or at least the question in your words, and then we'll start the timer as soon as you start answering the question. Okay? So first up is Patty McElhonick.
Okay, I'm not quite sure what we're doing here.
So you're answering a question that you have not yet answered tonight that speaks to you.
Okay, so it doesn't have to be the one up there.
No, it can be any question. They'll hopefully show up there. We're working on that piece.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Never mind.
I saw a question a little earlier about governance and having experience with governance. And with this being put on by the BIA and the Chamber, I thought I'd talk a little bit about that. So I've got a lot of experience in governance by being on boards. I was chair of the BC Chamber Education Committee, which was really interesting. And I've found myself to be very fortunate in some of the roles I've been able to do. So I have a master's in business. I do management consulting. I haven't much in the last year or two because I'm pretty busy with my job with Ann Davis. I've also been on the board of the BC Society of Transition Houses, Canadian Brain Injury Society, and different ones like that. And then I worked with one of the largest boards, which was 23 board members on the BC Wildlife Federation. I did a lot of work in Victoria and in Ottawa, presenting to Senate committees. And I think that for good governance, you need to be able to work well with others. You need to be able to listen. And I think that that's what I bring. I'm really wanting to have a healthy societal community, like our social issues, our economics. And I think that I'm able to bring that to the table with the experience that I have. I have children and I have grandchildren in this community, and I want to make sure that it's better for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. So just remember, we now have all the 15 questions queued. You can only see 6 of them up there, limitations of the software that we're using. However, please state the question that you're going to answer, and I'll scroll through and find it, and then it'll be up there when you're answering that question. So next up, we have incumbent Councillor Jason Lum. State the question, and then I'll find it, and then you can start answering.
Sure. I'd like to take the question on what role a city can play in reconciliation for First Nations.
Okay, so that's not a question we've had yet.
So it's a question that...
So it's one of the 15 questions that's already been up there that speaks to you.
We spoke on one on reconciliation, cultural tourism. That was not a piece of that. Okay, I'll take the cultural tourism and I'll build reconciliation.
Okay. Is that this one? Go ahead and start answering.
It's a little incumbent councillor trick right there. So I believe that we have a huge opportunity here. In particular, it was mentioned we're here tonight on the traditional and unceded territory of the Stalo people, and I've had a huge opportunity to take part in cultural place name tours held through the Stalo Nation. This is a vibrant cultural history here that makes us unique anywhere else in the world, and it's something that I believe we don't spend enough time celebrating or talking about. people travel from all over the world already to come here and experience that piece of our cultural history, and I believe it should be celebrated. I wanted to talk about reconciliation because I think we have so many shared opportunities to work with First Nation partners, especially on shared projects around cultural tourism. I think it's a huge untapped potential that we need to explore. In terms of other cultural health or measures of cultural health, I mean, we're sitting in a $22 million facility here that is the envy of places all over. So we need to have the facilities in order to promote and attract these kind of cultural events as well.
Thank you. So again, just for clarity, you're answering one of the 15 questions that's already up there. This is why we tightly control this when we have politicians on stage. I kid. So next up, we have incumbent Councillor Chris Clute.
Thanks, William. The crime question I'll take, if that's all right.
Okay, go ahead and start answering it.
Great, thank you. When I joined council in 2014, the 4-year council term between 2014 to 2018 budgeted in the comprehensive municipal plan 2 officers per year. That would have been 8 officers. We have added 19 officers since that time, as well as 5 information officers within our community. While I'm not opposed to a conversation about a municipal force, I think we need to continue bolstering our current RCMP and helping them achieve effective policing, especially with respect to our downtown area. I do maintain the attitude that in Chilliwack we're almost too nice. I think of the campment on Empress Lane that was there for some time. I did some banking on the corner there, and I went out and spoke to somebody, and there was a car that came in and the trunk went open and coffee came out, donuts came out. Critical opportunities for those who are in need are being missed to connect with social workers, building trust with social workers, bringing them to a pathway of permanent housing. I get it. I'm the same way. I'm a very soft individual for people who know me. But we need to work together. A successful community is a community that works together. And I truly believe we need some more police officers, and that was part of my push. Council obviously supported that, and I still think we need more. Thank you.
Thank you. And up next is Deborah Suter.
Thank you. I'm interested in answering the question about green transit.
Go ahead and start answering.
There are 2 kinds of traffic in our town, from what I can see. There's the back and forth from Chilliwack to Sardis, and then there are all the people that leave our town every day and go somewhere else, all at the same time, and then all come back all at the same time. It would be wonderful if they could stay, if they didn't have to leave. So long-term planning to provide employment for people who are living in Chilliwack so they can fully participate in our city would be part of green transit. Safe and organized carpooling and parking seems to come after the fact. People are on their own finding carpooling locations, and then they get bigger and muddier, and then the city comes in and gravels it and puts some concrete barriers around it. We should be way more proactive. We should control where those carpools are and help people find them and help people find people to carpool with. And finally, I'm a huge fan of rail, just saying.
Thank you. And next up, we have Jeff Shields.
All right, I'm going to adjust the mic over first here before I start. The question I liked was, because I never got any cherries like Bud or Chris did about their respective. How do you anticipate Chilliwack being able to attract new business and economic development over the next 5 years? I got one answer to that, and that's SEPCO. I'm a little biased. I've been on the board for 10 years, but SEPCO is an amazing organization. The mandate of SEPCO is to attract and facilitate. And they've done, the track record's unbelievable, what they've done with Chilliwack Education Park, Molson, Langley Concrete. It's fantastic. So, how are we going to attract new business? First thing we need to do is we need to look at existing businesses. How can we retain them and expand them? A perfect example, Lester Products was operating out of an ag barn and now has built a huge facility on Yale Road. That's SEPCO working with them to find them a facility. So that's what we need to do, work with existing employers. They're our best PR people for the city of Chilliwack. Our industrial land base, yes, we have about probably 20 acres left of industrial land. So we have to look at two things. We have to look at working with First Nations, and we have to look at maximizing the current use of that industrial land. And when I say maximize, it's jobs per acre. That's the key, jobs per acre. Right now we have trucks and trailers sitting on valuable industrial land. That doesn't create any employment. That doesn't create very little tax base for the city. Sorry, I had lots more, but anyway, thank you.
Thank you. And next up, we have Cameron Hull.
Thank you. I'd like to address the question about the BIA being responsible for security funds and not the city. I was formerly a member of the board of directors for the BIA, as well as I headed the security committee that actually looked at that. I just need some clarification, and this may be run out of time, but the BIA is a member-run organization, not that dissimilar to the chamber. Some people, I don't know why, tend to think that it's an arm of government, and it simply isn't. The security that's provided for by the BIA is for the members of the BIA. There was a time where we had patrols downtown, and the BIA, and I was one of those people that steered that, said that it wasn't the BIA's position or responsibility to patrol the cities. That's the job of the city. That's the job of the RCMP. That shouldn't fall within our scope as the BIA. So it's not that dissimilar when you have security. Most businesses have a security firm. You see them in malls, you see them in large businesses. But the reality is with the BIA, with many of the 300 members, there are small operations that can't really afford to have a security firm. So we work as a group so we have an on-call system, and that's how that's run. It was the intent today, and the intent when it started, even in '99, I believe, was not that it would police the downtown. And therefore, I don't think it should, and that is the responsibility of the city. Thank you.
Thank you. And next up, we have Harv Westring.
Okay, thanks. For my question, I'd like to tackle what do you foresee as the greatest challenges in the near future for Chilliwack?
Just go ahead.
Good to go?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So I see the biggest challenges as crime, homelessness, and affordable housing. And affordable housing to me is near and dear to my heart because we have employees that are really struggling with it, and we have kids that are 22 and 20, and they're looking out at the marketplace, and it's a daunting challenge. And at the end of the day, there's three things that factor into affordable housing, and it's demand, cost, and supply. And because we live in the most beautiful place in the world, the demand is always going to be there, and the demand is always going to be increasing. So there's not really a lot we can do about that. The second factor is cost, and material costs and labor costs and government regulations coming down on the building process is continually increasing that cost. So that's unlikely to come down too. So the only real thing we can do to increase housing affordability is to increase the supply. And the city has a role to play there by increasing densification along urban corridors and increasing the frequency of public transit to service those corridors. And I think that's going to be the ticket to getting affordable housing in Chilliwack. Thanks.
Thank you. And up next is Ken Smith.
Thank you. I'd like to address the question of urban and agriculture development.
Okay.
One of the things that concerns me in talking to some people that I know that are basically grow different things or in the agriculture business is the price of the land here in the valley is getting so high that they say they can't afford to sustain that to grow their products at a competitive level. And I've heard them say that they're going to look at different areas to grow the product and bring it back here and sell it. I think, I don't know how exactly that problem can be fixed, but I think it's a problem with agriculture being up so high per acre, that how are they going to sustain that? And how are you going to regulate that for these growers? And I think that's a serious problem coming up in the future. I also see somehow or other the agricultural land getting used up as industrial land. If you take Molson's, for example, we probably have 45 acres or whatever it is there of the best land, growing land in the world, and we have huge industry on it, and that land is gone forever. So I think that's part of how we should plan not to do that anymore. I don't know how the Agricultural Land Commission works, but when you look out there, it doesn't seem to be working. That's my view.
Thank you. So up next we have Sandy Matthews.
I'd like to take on property taxes. To increase property taxes more than inflation, to me, is just crazy. I ran a business in Abbotsford for 30 years, and one of the hardest things we had was just to make enough profit to pay our property taxes. It was a struggle every year. We had businesses in other jurisdictions, and Abbotsford was always the hardest because their property rate tax was way higher than Chilliwack's, way higher than Parksville, way higher than Victoria, and it was always a struggle. And it makes it hard for businesses to stay in the towns that they're in and to run a profitable business if your property taxes keep going up. Everyone here pays property tax, whether they're renting or owning, and property tax is a cost to everyone. So I think as a city council, it's our job to keep our taxes as reasonable as we can and make sure that we have the people in place to watch where the money's being spent, so you don't need to increase property taxes to accomplish the goals you need there. We have an expanding population, and the build it as you need it is, to me, is a way better idea than what Abbotsford did, was they built it and then tried to pay for it. And to me, that's not the proper way to go. We need to plan properly and keep our taxes where they need to be so we can all afford to live here.
Thank you. And up next is Louis DeJager.
Thank you. Well, aside from Parks and Recs, I'm going to take that as well, Jason. What do you envision that will augment and enhance the cultural health and tourism draw to Chilliwack? For a long time now, I've been on the powwow committee, the Spirit of the People powwow. It's the second biggest powwow in British Columbia, and I'm sure most people don't know that. We attract people from, oh my goodness, Belgium to China to Germany, and it's absolutely huge. We struggle to put on that event with barely any help, definitely barely any city help. I actually went down and got a city flag this year to make sure that the city was at least part of the powwow. This is probably the single biggest opportunity we have here. This is like Squamish. The prosperity is unbelievable. And everything that we need is right in our own neighborhood. The relationship with the city government, City of Chilliwack and First Nations has not been a good one. And I think that's where we need to start. I started the Stalo Business Association with independent business. It's like an Indigenous Chamber of Commerce. With Leanne now at the helm, we've gotten together and now we're starting to cooperate. We've seen the RBC Cup. This is where we need to move rather than worrying ourselves with building up and more cars and more roads. Let's just look at our neighbors around us and start with that relationship first. And we're going to see prosperity like we've never seen before for our kids and the future of good relations between Indigenous and non-Indigenous citizens.
Thank you. And up next is Terry Cross.
Thank you. I'm going to take the what plans do you will reduce the crime in Chilliwack? And I'm going to give you some perspective before I answer that. The shop I run last May, a year ago, had been broken in 9 times in 5 months. 27 vehicles have been damaged, 4 RVs, 2 buildings. The damage was in the thousands of dollars, literally. I could have given 4 staff members a $1 an hour raise. So you talk about economic growth. Think of the money that was lost there into the community. Downtown, I can't imagine what they go through. It must be horrible to wake up every morning wondering what's happened to your building, how helpless you must feel, and the mess you have to clean up every day. Chilliwack needs more boots on the ground, a constant presence downtown to patrol the hot spots, so everybody knows we mean business. We need an attitude change, that if you come into our community, you're going to contribute. You will make it your home, and if you break the law, you will be arrested. Sorry, but making ourselves a destination makes us a target. And more people need to know you can't take advantage of us. We need more boots on the ground. Thank you.
Thank you. And for our final three people, we have Lisa Mori.
Thank you. Well, I wanted to address the question about enhancing cultural and tourism as well. Louis DeJager and Jason Lum did a lovely job, and so what they said. Plus, yes, no, I believe we do need to work with First Nations. There's incredible cultural opportunities there and see what they want to do. But when I first moved to Chilliwack, my kids got involved in the arts big time. Music, theater, dance. They've trod this stage and other stages in this community many, many, many times. I would say hundreds of productions. I've been backstage, I've helped, I've volunteered, I've done all that. The seeds are here, there's incredible talent. There's music, there's the Chilliwack Academy of Music and the theater and the symphony and other musical talent. The homegrown theater, the kids from Sardis High School and from UFE, they just branched out and they started their own theater companies and they've had successful shows here on the stage. There's the Chilliwack Players Guild. There's so much that we can do to promote and market our arts and maybe even put some money into it or find some funding for it. It would be nice to see downtown come alive a little bit more with some arts kind of spaces that really work, like small theater or more support for live bands and dancing and music downtown. It could be a little bit more fun and it could perhaps be a bit safer. And not to forget our beautiful outdoors. I spend a lot of time hiking in this community, particularly. I also belong to the Chilliwack Center of Excellence Paddling Club, but there's lots of opportunity to promote that tourism there as well. And we have world-class kayaking facilities.
And
that
time's
too.
up.
Thanks.
Thank you. And up next is incumbent Councillor Sue Attrell.
Thank you. I've chosen to look at the question where I think it was, what is our biggest challenge? And I would say certainly homelessness and visible drug abuse within our community. There was a time not that long ago that we were not even on the list with the provincial government as being a community at risk. And we were able to get ourselves on that list and work with BC Housing and the provincial government. And now we have 200 spaces that will be available in mid-2019 to house over 200 people that are homeless on our streets right now. And in those facilities, they will have wraparound support that will be there 24 hours a day and will deal with drug abuse and trying to get these people back on their feet. And one thing that they've proven is that you have to put a roof over someone's head before they're going to accept help. If they're out on the street and they're just worried about where their next meal is going to come from, they're not going to accept help, and this problem is never going to go away. So to me, that is the biggest issue. We spend 33% of our budget on policing and fire, and they spend a great deal of their time working in the streets and trying to deal with our homelessness issue. And until we get these people housed, we're not going to be making much of a dent in it. The other thing is that Crown Council has to have a substantial consideration that something will go to charges or be that they will be convicted. And other provinces, they only have to have a reasonable chance of being convicted. So our police spend a lot of time dealing with that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And final up is Bud Mercer.
Thank you. I'd like the question on homelessness as well.
Go ahead and get started.
While throwing police officers at the problem of homelessness and property crime is probably a good strategy, it does provide some reassurance and some help, maybe a better look, but it doesn't in any way, shape, or form tackle the root cause. So you have to ask yourself, are are we spending good money with bad results? Because I can guarantee, as I sit here today, the people that the police officers meet on the street and they arrest, whether they're charges or not, are going to be reoffending tomorrow because they need the property, it's prostitution, they have to have money to buy drugs again. That's the root cause. It requires a wraparound, fully integrated approach, which includes Crown Council. The police know who the 25% or 30% of the 200-plus homeless people who are chronic offenders. They need to be identified. They can do that. Crown has to be involved. The court has to be involved. They have to be charged. They have to go to court. The court has to know they're a prolific offender. The court dates have to be 1 week, not 1 year away. Homes help. It provides them a feeling that they'll actually accept drug addiction counseling and help, but we have to have the facilities to put them into, and we currently don't have them. So more police officers, great idea. No police chief would ever say no, but we need to deal with the root cause of the problem. And it has to be a wraparound, fully integrated, full-on, all public safety department involved to target.
Thank you. So that brings us to the end of round 3. All the candidates have answered, basically end of round 4. They've answered 4 questions, and one of those questions being the top question of their choice. They do now have the opportunity to speak about something that they wish that is not being mandated by us and the crowd and the questions we've had. But I do want to thank you all for putting those questions. We've had dozens and dozens of questions, probably in the 70, 80 questions that came in. We were only able to field 15 of those that everyone voted to the top, so thanks very much for that. So what we're going to do now is every candidate gets 1 minute to kind of give us their closing arguments, and then after that, I want to do a quick poll to see if any of you have changed your mind or where we're at in terms of our election, the upcoming election. So we'll start alphabetical descending. Harv, you have 1 minute.
Awesome. Thank you. I want to thank all of you for taking the time to come tonight. I thank the BIA and thank the Chamber. All us candidates here are obviously here because we love the city and we want to move it forward. In the end, everyone at Council has to give in a bit to compromise to be a team player. We can't have everything we want all the time. I am a team player, having served in leadership roles in many different organizations. I'm involved personally in 3 industries: real estate, home building, and dairy farming. That gives me a unique perspective on the different issues that we are facing. And I am deeply involved in the community through school, sports, and work. These characteristics would allow me to act as a liaison between the City Hall and the community. Again, it is easy to talk, but the policies on my website can be carefully scrutinized, and I will be held accountable to them. It doesn't matter what industry you are in or what game you play. Timing is everything. And right now is the perfect time to get it right, with Alger Brothers doing the heavy lifting in the downtown core, and we, as a city, implementing the right policies to turn the corner. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming this evening and sharing your thoughts and concerns. This has been a wonderful opportunity to share my passion for our community. Wherever I go and whatever I do, I end up in a leadership role, and I try not to shirk it. When you have some skills, you've got to do something with them, and I want to serve you. My community service and integrity are public record. We need leadership that shares our vision of a city with our future in mind. Now it's up to you to choose. Voting day is Saturday, October 20th. We need a council that represents our entire community. Your vote matters. We depend on the provincial and federal government to lend their support and their much-needed funds for our big problems. I think that if we had an awesome voter turnout, that the provincial and federal governments would notice Chilliwack.
Good evening, and thank you for coming, and thank you for listening. One of the main things in my platform that I've assessed by demand from people that I talk to is we need to spend more time listening to the electorate and their problems. And I can tell that a lot of people out there have problems and haven't been heard. They've tried to be heard. And I've been to some council meetings. I really do believe that we need to spend a little more time being concerned about what the electorate is telling us. And I think that's very important. You know, a lot of people say, well, it's not going to do any good to speak up. We're not going to have any luck with that. And I say they need to speak up, and I say we need to listen. The other, already? Sorry. So I think that's one of the main things of my platform is the electorate and being listened to. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I would liken this process to a job interview, so I'm going to leave you with my closing sales pitch. I really want this job. I've been preparing myself for this job for the last 20 plus years. I'm CFO of one of the largest and longest standing private companies in Chilliwack. Over the years, I've dedicated hundreds, if not thousands of hours giving back to the community. Not for any personal gain, just because there was a need that I could fill. Knowledge, experience, and commitment are all strong characteristics I possess. Characteristics that are all required for the job of City Councillor. You need to decide who you think will be the best people sitting in council chambers. They don't have to be the smartest, most charismatic, or articulate. But they do need to be the people that will always make the most informed, educated, and unbiased decisions, and they must put the city's interests first and foremost. Like with any successful business, it's about putting the right people in the right seats. If that's what you want, then you should vote for me on October 20th.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for coming tonight. It really makes me feel a lot better about the chances that people will get out and vote by seeing how many people are really interested. Again, I'm Lisa Maury. I'm running for City Council. Please vote for me on October 20th. Why am I running? Why do I want to do this? Well, I've always been interested in politics since I was about 12 years old. I've been a political junkie my whole life. I think local government is where you can really make some change and improve your community. And I want to bring a really different background. I'm quite different from everyone else who's sitting up here. I was a single parent for 20-odd years. I raised my kids by myself. I've tasted poverty and homelessness, and I think that I'm quite different. I'm coming from a different place. I'm a strong union person. I'm an officer in my union, and I'd like to put forward some of the important things that need to be changed for this community. Thank you. Please vote.
Thank you.
Thank you. Whether here in Chilliwack or the person responsible for all police operations across the Lower Mainland, my focus has always been crime and those responsible. Crime has always been one of the top priorities and concerns in Chilliwack since I've been here since 1992. What has struck me, however, is that there's never been anyone with a public safety background on council. I've always believed that a strong council, and for a council to be effective, it needs to be made up of a group of people with diverse skills, experience, and background. If I'm elected, I'll join this team, bringing with me 35 years of public safety and policing and leadership. Please vote for me. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sandy Matthews, and I want this job. I'm not a big talker. I'm more of a solutions guy. I like to listen to people and find out what the real problem is and then take that problem and break it down so that you can find a solution. My background is in forecasting and making sure that budgets are attainable and that you don't overspend your budget and everything is run up and done properly. The worst thing you can do is spend more money than you have because it just creates nothing but problems. And like I said, we used to do 7-year forecasting for my last job, and we stuck to those budgets and made adjustments as it was necessary. Because with a good budget and listening to people, you can get the services to the people that they need and not give them stuff they don't need, like flowers in the middle of a roundabout and that kind of stuff.
Thank you, Patty.
Thank you for coming out tonight. Widowed with 3 young kids, going back to school as a mature student, and the work that I have done and continue to do in the community shows that I don't back down and I keep on going even when things get tough, and that's what I offer. My top platform issues are affordable housing, and I'm on the Chilliwack Housing First Task Team, and I'm pretty familiar with what's happening, and I have some good connections on what needs to be done. Think outside the box on public safety and crime prevention, and I think it is around prevention as well as policing. There's short and long-term solutions here. I have a strong track record of supporting small business, and I'm a strong supporter of our environment, which I haven't heard talked about tonight. So our prosperity depends on the health of our planet, and I believe strongly in conserving the resources that drive our economy and the natural beauty that we all enjoy for recreation. On October 20th, I humbly ask for your support and vote for me, Patty McElhonick. I will listen, and I've proven experience, and I can get the job done. Thank you.
First of all, I want to thank the Chamber of Commerce and the BIA for organizing the event tonight. Thank you to all my colleagues up here. This is not an easy thing to do, and there's a bunch of new people up here. I think everybody did fantastic. It's a privilege to do what I do, and I understand that deeply. But this election will bring significant change, as was mentioned earlier, 50% new people at the council table. So what I want to leave with you tonight, that at least 50%, I'm reminded by Chris Clute, at least 50%. What I want to leave you tonight is with the idea that I hope you will keep me at the table. I am somebody who's open to new ideas, somebody who prides myself on being able to bring different people together. I have a principled, passionate, and proven leadership style that I believe will serve Chilliwack well. And on October 20th, I'm respectfully asking you to vote Jason Lum. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I'd like to extend my thanks to the Chamber and the BIA for putting this important evening on. To all of you who took the time this evening to come out, those watching at home, it's important to be involved. Thank you to all the candidates who stepped forward. I've enjoyed listening to their passion and their vision. And now, Chilliwack, it's up to you. It's up to you to decide who you want at the council table after October 20th. You've heard a lot this evening. I hope you see my passion and my commitment to my community. A successful community is an involved community. You're welcome to look at my track record. I rarely miss any meetings. I have and I hope to continue making Chilliwack the best it's ever been. Please take the time to go to my website, Vote for Clute, for more information. I've worked hard for Chilliwack, and I hope you give me the mandate to continue. Strong, responsible, committed, and experienced leadership is a good thing for Chilliwack. I respectfully ask you to consider me, Chris Clute, for re-election on October 20th. Thank you, and good night.
Thank you.
You know, we've heard some great ideas here tonight, but let me mention something even more important for when you have a stage, use it. Now, I'm only going to talk to the guys simply because every woman here knows more about this topic than I ever will. October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. I can hear some guys say it's just not guys, and you're right, but fellas, we've mastered it. A young woman is 13 times more likely to die at the hands of her intimate partner than a man. And domestic violence knows no demographic, old, young, rich, or poor. If you say not all men, you're not even in the conversation. Because I say yes, all men, and as a man I say that, we all have the responsibility to ensure that those around us are safe. We have the obligation to teach our sons better and be an example for other men. I simply leave with this. Fellas, if you need some resources of how to help, I'm certain that Patty right there will point you in the right direction with the Ann Davis Society. Thank you so much.
Well, what I bring to the table is the ability to bring people together in a positive and a collaborative way. I've worked with entrepreneurs, business people, many of Chilliwack's service agencies, and First Nation leaders. I believe that now more than ever, we need a strong team of leaders that can each bring something of value to the table, with a focus on community, safety, and opportunity. I have worked for my MBA for the past 2.5 years, building up my academic skills, and I'm ready to use these skills to help us achieve our potential. I understand that this position comes with responsibility, and in the words of an upcoming young chief, title is something you do not walk in front of, you do not walk behind, you do not walk on it. With respect, you walk with it. My inspirations on the City Council has always been Dorothy Kostreva and Bernie Cross. I've always admired their humility, passion, and concern for Chilliwack, and I'm going to add Jason Lum in there too.
Thank you. Terry.
Thank you so much for coming out tonight. It takes a great effort to have everybody show up, go through this for 3 hours basically, and it's a true pleasure having you here. As a councillor, I will work for the taxpayers of this community, the people that pay the bills. I will work hard, I will ask the hard questions, I will listen, and I will react. We need to strive for fair housing for everyone, help our families stay in the community and succeed. Keep our tax base low so we can attract more businesses like Molson that will add more to our tax and help pay for the bills that we will see in the future. And improve the trades at UFV so we can have those strong tradespeople coming into the industries. I will be an awesome councillor. Thank you.
I am Sue Atchell, and I love Chilliwack. I have had the great honor of representing you on City Council for the last 10 years. I have a very rounded experience level, and I have listened to you, and I will continue to listen to you. I have chaired and contributed to every committee that we have at City Hall and sat on dozens of boards. I believe in integrity and respect and teamwork, and I think you have a huge mission in front of you to put together a great team for City Hall, because it's very important. We need a great team. I ask for your vote on October 20th, and I hope you will honor me again.
Thank you. So what I'd like to do before we close out the evening and, kind of give our concluding remarks for the evening is we're going to do one final poll. So if all of you can just take out your technology for one more poll, and this time we're going to ask you, it's a slightly different question, but here it is. Did anything you hear tonight change your opinion or change your conceptions you had prior to coming to tonight's event? So did anything here change your opinion? And I'd like to, open that up, and I see there's already people coming in on that. We got over 50 people that have already done that. We had over 270 people that were on the first poll, so let's try to achieve those numbers. And I'll just leave that up there. It's very hard to see what is happening. The colors must not be coming through for some reason. There you go. There you go. I'm going to first thank technology for working. So there is, we've got over nearly 150 people that have taken that poll. So please help us out. Take that poll, and I'll just leave that up there for a couple minutes. So just for our concluding remarks, I first want to thank all the candidates for coming out. I just want to thank them for all the time and energy and passion that they're putting into vying for the position of leadership in Chilliwack. And, well, here we have 6 of these people will become our leaders for the next 4 years. And I just want to, let's give them all a round of applause for giving up their time. Absolutely. They are going to be our voted leaders. How's that? So next I want to thank our sponsors. I want to thank the Chilliwack Chamber of Commerce for putting this on. So let's give them a round of applause. And also the Downtown Chilliwack Business Improvement Association. And finally, chillTV.ca. So if you, go ahead. If you're going to come home and someone's going to say, so who do I vote for? You can say, just go online, chillTV.ca. There's 2.5 hours of your viewing pleasure for you. Okay? So, and I just want to single out some people as well. I want to just thank a lot of the people that are in the background. So we're just the people on stage here. I want to thank, obviously I already thanked the Chilliwack Chamber of Commerce, Darren Bosch, our president, just for, allowing this to happen as well in the Chamber of Commerce. I want to thank Leanna Kemp, the Executive Director of the Chamber of Commerce, and Kyle Williams, the Executive Director of the Chilliwack BIA. And then, of course, I can't, we have Nicole Enns from the Chamber of Commerce and Nicole Prosser from the BIA. And thanks Taylor and Laura as well. And also, I want to thank all my fellow servants on the Chilliwack Chamber Board of Directors as we serve Chilliwack and continue to make this a vibrant community. And last of all, I want to thank you for coming out, making sure you're informed, making sure that you're helping us choose that strong leadership that's going to take us into the next 4 years. Thank you. And good night.